"15 Minnesotans were charged with conspiracy tied to ICE protests today." So basically, this case is so a bunch of activists were doing Andor shit in Minneapolis and may or may not have committed state and or federal crimes as a result of that. So I'm going to read the entire indictment in full, along with some like local on the ground context that I can provide, as well as like information about their ideologies and beliefs, being anarchism and anti-fascism. So I hope you enjoy. The first part is going to be more about the context, and then the broader, like full reading of the indictment is going to be the longest part of this, and it is 94 pages, so buckle up, folks. Thanks so much if you managed to hang around for the full thing. Federal officials on Tuesday said a grand jury indicted 15 Minnesotans for conspiracy to impede or injure federal officers and for efforts to allegedly violently oppose immigration law enforcement during the surge of federal immigration officers in the state earlier this year. Daniel Rosen, the U.S. Attorney for Minnesota, told reporters the 15 were charged not for what they said, but what they did. Rosen, though, turned aside specific questions connected to the alleged conspiracy, saying repeatedly that the evidence would roll out later. And he keeps saying, we'll let the indictment stand on its own. And so I thought it was very important to read the indictment to you and provide additional context that the document does not provide. So these are the people charged in the indictment, and I will refrain from reading them just for time. There is very important context to know from this case. The individuals involved identified as anarchists. What is anarchism? Anarchism is a political philosophy and movement that seeks to abolish all institutions that perpetrate authority, coercion, or hierarchy, primarily targeting the state and capitalism. Anarchism advocates for the replacement of the state with stateless societies and voluntary free associations. Anarchism is described as being part of the libertarian wing of the socialist movement, otherwise known as libertarian socialism. Although the traces of anarchist ideas are found all throughout history, modern anarchism emerged during the Enlightenment. During the latter half of the 19th and the first decades of the 20th century, the anarchist movement flourished in most parts of the world and had a significant role in workers' struggles for emancipation. Various anarchist schools of thought formed during this period. Anarchists have taken part in several revolutions, most notably the Paris Commune and the Russian Civil War and the Spanish Civil War, whose conclusion marked the end of the classical era of anarchism. In the last decades of the 20th and into the 21st century, the anarchist movement has been resurgent, growing in popularity and influence within anti-capitalist, anti-war, and anti-globalization movements. Anarchists employ a range of approaches to social change, often categorized as revolutionary or evolutionary, though the two frequently overlap and are reflected in a diversity of tactics. Evolutionary approaches generally favor gradual and often nonviolent change, while revolutionary approaches seek to destroy oppressive states and institutions. Many facets of human civilization have been influenced by anarchist theory, critique, and praxis. So if you're interested in reading more about the history and the general subclasses and schools of anarchism, the Wikipedia article is pretty thorough. Another important thing to know about for this indictment is the concept of a black bloc. A black bloc is a tactic used by protesters who wear black clothing, ski masks, scarves, sunglasses, motorcycle helmets with padding, or other face-concealing and face-protecting items. The clothing is used to conceal wearers' identities from both the police and politically opposing organizations by making it difficult to distinguish between participants. It is also used to protect their faces and eyes from pepper spray, which is used by police during protests or civil unrest. The tactic also allows the group to appear as one large unified mass. Black bloc participants are often associated with anarchism, anarcho-communism, communism, libertarian socialism, and proletarian internationalism. A variant of this type of protest is the padded bloc, where following the Toute Blanche movement, protesters wear padded clothing to protect against the police. The tactic was developed in the 1980s in the European autonomous movement's protests against squatter evictions, nuclear power, and restrictions on abortion, as well as other influences. Black blocs gained broader media attention outside Europe during the 1999 Seattle WTO protests, when a black bloc damaged property of Gap, Starbucks, Old Navy, and other multinational retail locations in downtown Seattle. Once again, you can read more information about this. There's pretty detailed on the Wikipedia page. But I'm also realizing we might need to define communism or like anarcho-communism for people. Anarcho-communism is a far-left political ideology and anarchist school of thought that advocates a form of communism. It calls for the abolition of hierarchies as well as private property, but retention of personal property and collectively owned items, goods, and services. It supports social ownership of property and the distribution of resources, for example, from each according to his ability to each according to his needs. Anarchist communism was first formulated as such in the Italian section of the International Working Men's Association. The theoretical work of Peter Kropotkin took importance later as it expanded and developed pro-organizationalist and insurrectionary anti-organizationalist sections. Examples of anarchist communist societies are the anarchist tendencies of this during the Russian Revolution and those of the Spanish Revolution, most notably Revolutionary Catalonia. And if you're interested in more documentation and information about this political theory, it is available for free on theanarchistlibrary.org. It also includes some really cool social research books and other just general zines and other resources for free. So I highly recommend, just if you're interested in libraries and reading free texts. So let's dive into the actual indictment. National Security Presidential Memorandum 7, and they said that impeding and enforcing ICE officers was an act of domestic terrorism and organized political violence. They also specified in a different executive order that Antifa is a domestic terrorist organization. However, there is no such thing as a group called Antifa. Antifa just means that you are anti-fascist. To be anti-fascist is to be opposed to fascism. So what is fascism? Fascism is a populist political philosophy, movement, or regime, such as that of the fascisti in Italy, that exalts nation and often race above the individual, that is associated with a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, and that is characterized by severe economic and social regimentation and by forcible suppression of opposition. So they are saying that anybody who opposes fascism is a domestic terrorist, according to this. Also released in 2026 was the United States Counterterrorism Strategy, in which there was a really major change to how they assessed threats to U.S. national security. They added 3 major types of terror groups: the narco-terrorists and transnational gangs, legacy Islamist terrorists, which they also include Al-Qaeda in this, and they say violent left-wing extremists, including anarchists and anti-fascists. In this document, they detail how they will deploy as much resources to oppose these threats as they currently use to oppose groups such as Al-Qaeda and ISIS, as well as the Muslim Brotherhood and stuff. So this is the important context that this indictment is emerging from. The first count is on conspiracy to impede or injure a federal officer, violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 372. And then they lay out the conspiracy here. So from in and around January 2026 through in and around June 2026 in the District of Minnesota and elsewhere, the defendants, named below here, did knowingly conspire with other persons known and unknown to the grand jury to prevent by force, intimidation, and threats officers and employees of the United States Department of Homeland Security, which includes the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, from discharging the duties of their officers in violation of Title 18, United States Code Section 372. The defendants were members and associations of Twin Cities Direct Action, TCDA, which later changed its name to Direct Action Minnesota, DAMN, or DAM, an organization dedicated and committed to direct action against federal law and immigration enforcement. Direct action refers to disruptive and obstructive tactics used by participants to forcibly challenge, block, or stop immigration raids, detentions, and deportations. DAM describes itself as a decentralized coalition of working class people engaged in various forms of community defense against the current federal occupation happening within the wider metro area and against state and far-right violence more broadly. DAM also trains its members in the use of shields against law enforcement surveillance, event planning, role differentiation, and rapid mass mobilization against ICE enforcement actions. DAM is comprised of members from several subgroups such as the Black Cat Workers Collective, Ray Rainbolt Memorial Shooting Club, and other organizations. Many self-proclaimed anti-fascist or Antifa groups in the United States exist at the local level in small units called affinity groups. Antifa groups frequently blend anarchist and communist views. BCWC is a Minneapolis-based Antifa affinity group committed to militant class struggle, community self-defense, and revolution. Militant class struggle indicates disrupting rallies, digital campaigning, community organizing, and physical confrontation, often justified as collective self-defense. BCWC members advocate, promote, and utilize militant tactics and violence. BCWC members are intricately involved in the planning and execution of direct actions. The Ray Rainbolt Memorial Shooting Club is another Minneapolis-based Antifa affinity group dedicated to community self-defense. DAM members work closely with rapid response networks to identify and harass federal immigration and law enforcement officers in order to harass and prevent officers from performing their official duties. And this is them tying rapid response networks in the Twin Cities to the actions of the individuals who were indicted. To be clear, rapid response networks help people to organize to defend their communities against federal agents seeking to kidnap, brutalize, and terrorize them. And they talk about how this has changed over the following months as they adapted to the ICE occupation through Operation Metro Surge. And they have, let's see here. These are the tactics that they engage in, including counter surveillance, such as watching the ICE officers to see where they're going and what vehicles that they are driving in, to provide an early warning system about surges and convoys to the local area networks, to gather data with a special focus on license plate databases, and to ensure ICE knows that they are being watched. And then how that works is that each chunk of the city has rotating shifts of dispatchers who administrate a running signal call throughout operational hours. Sometimes multiple dispatchers overlap to split up the extra tasks of watching the chat, relaying reports to other channels, and checking license plates. Dispatch also helps people evenly distribute patrols across an area, take notes, and assists people through confrontations. All patrollers in cars and on foot stay on the call throughout their patrol. There is a constant flow of information, allowing other cars to decide whether they are well positioned to join in, taking over tailing the car, or continue searching for additional vehicles. A data collection team collects anonymized data submitted from WhippleWatch and many of the local rapid response chats, aggregating them into consumable formats, such as interactive maps of hotspots. This team also administers the searchable database of license plates sorted by confirmed ICE, suspected ICE, confirmed not ICE, and other categories. And then there are also additional place-based chats that have emerged around school systems, faith communities, mutual aid, grocery deliveries, and the like. Let's see here. And other important information. Yeah. So basically, the federal officers are trying to tie these rapid response groups, which have nothing to do with these anarchist groups in an official sense. Like, any individual can join a rapid response group. And they may or may not engage in all or some of those activities. Some people just joined the chats to read up on and stay aware of what was happening in their communities. So this is a very dangerous tie-in that makes a lot of people who were just simply staying aware of the safety risks in their own community to federal indictment and investigation. However, this indictment says RRNs are, quote, inherently militant with the explicit aim of combating and stopping a federal agent with a gun. DAM members utilize the Whipple Watch Signal group chat, which facilitates the identification of federal immigration and law enforcement of vehicles and documents, identifying information such as license plate numbers in databases. The databases include information like whether a vehicle has been identified as belonging to federal law enforcement, when it was last seen, how many times it was seen, the kinds of activities it was engaged in, if it was in a caravan, and if someone saw federal agents with tactical gear inside, all to help determine how aggressive the response to that particular vehicle should be. DAM members often rely on information and intelligence produced by the Whipple Watch and other Signal group chats to target, harass, and confront federal immigration and law enforcement officers. Once someone relays information about a federal immigration or law enforcement officer's location, dispatchers relay verified information to commuters who deploy to the identified area to interfere with, prevent, hinder, delay, impede, and directly confront federal immigration enforcement, including de-arresting people that federal law enforcement have arrested. De-arresting is simply pulling them, like, physically with arms or like other body parts away from the grip of law enforcement officers and like cutting away, for example, zip ties or handcuffs that may or may not have been used. Commuters follow federal immigration enforcement officers from locations like the Bishop Henry Whipple Federal Building to the officers' residences and other locations. Commuters often work with co-pilots who communicate with dispatchers in real time. Dispatchers relay identifying information about immigration and law enforcement vehicles to commuters and co-pilots. DAM members often engage in commuting tactics with other members. DAM worked closely with other direct action groups, Antifa affinity groups, RRNs, and other organizations to plan for and execute certain direct actions. DAM infiltrated and exploited lawful protests to more efficiently carry out its direct actions targeting operations involving ICE, as well as supporting federal and state law enforcement. This is also an important note that the federal indictment is accusing them of using nonviolent protest as a shield for their actions, when I would argue personally, in a more realistic sense, they just all showed up at the same time, and like there's on the ground, there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of, you can't say someone is not allowed to show up in a public place at whatever time they decide to. Like, there's no way for not organized protesters to do such a thing. DAM relied on otherwise lawful protesters and strengthened numbers to distract law enforcement, enabled DAM members to carry out its direct action operations. They allege the purposes of the conspiracy include the following: preventing the enforcement of federal immigration law by force, intimidation, and threats, opposing the authority of the United States government, preventing, hindering, or delaying by force the execution of the laws governing the identification, detention, and removal of non-citizens to include the Immigration and Nationality Act, and preventing, impeding, and interfering federal law enforcement from discharging their duties, including enforcement of federal immigration law by force, intimidation, and threats. Manner and means of the conspiracy. The defendants, with others whose identities are known and unknown to the grand jury, carried out the conspiracy through the following manner and means, among others by coordinating anti-law enforcement actions using rapid response networks whose members and associates use media, social media, text messaging, and encrypted messaging applications such as Signal Messenger to communicate with co-conspirators and others, preparing, coordinating, and executing direct actions and blockades to forcibly obstruct federal immigration enforcement operations at the Whipple Building, advocating and promoting direct action against ICE and other law and immigration enforcement working in Minneapolis and the surrounding area, utilizing hard blockades at or around the Whipple Building and throughout the Minneapolis area to forcibly obstruct and impede federal law and immigration enforcement actions. Members of the hard blockade team used debris, wood, leaf blowers, etc., vehicles, trailers, check hedgehogs, a static obstacle made of metal angle beams, and other items to obstruct the roads used by law enforcement near the Whipple Building to impede the movement of federal law enforcement and immigration officers. Utilizing soft blockades at or around the Whipple Building and throughout the Minneapolis area to forcibly obstruct and impede federal immigration enforcement, members of the soft blockade team wield homemade shields constructed from plastic, wood, and metal to physically resist the efforts of law enforcement and to aggressively wedge or break through teams of officers on foot. Employing hard and soft security to counter purported fascists or counter demonstrators. Hard security includes members that are more confrontational and prone to physical violence. Soft security includes members utilizing de-escalation techniques. Conducting after-action reviews, after-actions or AARs, following planned direct actions to develop best practices. Utilizing social media, text messaging, encrypted messaging application, and word of mouth to advertise and promote specific direct actions. Coordinating with other groups and organizations such as Melt the Ice, Week of Action, BCWC, Ray Rainbolt Memorial Shooting Club, and others to plan and prepare for direct actions. And to be very clear, some of these organizations like Melt the Ice and Week of Action are also like just nonviolent, liberal protest organizations. So this is a very dangerous indictment tying these peaceful groups with these actions, which they allege are violent. Operating working groups for specific direct actions where members of the conspiracy develop, plan, and rehearse roles in operations for specific direct actions targeting federal law and immigration enforcement. Conducting targeted trainings and dry runs for participants to develop, plan, and rehearse roles. The use of shields, de-arrest tactics, and other strategies aimed at impeding federal law and immigration enforcement. Utilizing counter-surveillance tactics to inform members about the activities of law enforcement at or around the Whipple building. Engaging in community self-defense, which is a decentralized militant approach to opposing groups it perceives as fascist, as well as local and federal law enforcement. Utilizing and practicing operational security, or OPSEC, such as collecting member cell phones during meetings to prevent recordings. Utilizing commuting tactics, which include identifying, following, surveilling, harassing, and confronting federal immigration enforcement with the goal of preventing, hindering, delaying, and impeding the enforcement of federal immigration law, and training other direct action and Antifa affinity groups throughout the country about how to forcibly obstruct, prevent, delay, hinder, and impede federal immigration enforcement operations. Overt acts. In furtherance of the conspiracy and to effect the objects and purposes thereof, the defendants and others known and unknown to the grand jury committed various overt acts, including but not limited to the following. On or about January 11, 2026, Davis moderated an event called Emergency Meeting on Resistance to ICE Operation on Central Avenue Southeast in Minneapolis. During the meeting, attendees broke out into the following groups based on their assigned roles for a January 23, 2026 direct action at the Whipple building: hard blockade, soft blockade, mass commuting, civil disobedience, and march groups. So just to be clear, they are including general marchers and protesters as part of this conspiracy. So there is evidence here that they could be moving forward to potentially indict or investigate peaceful protesters who participated in these events. I just want to be clear about that. At the meeting, Sant introduced Davis, saying he was part of the Black Cat Workers Collective. Before the meeting ended, an unindicted co-conspirator created a signal chat group called TCDA, where individuals from the meeting joined to coordinate actions for the January 23rd, 2026 direct action at Whipple. On or about January 13th, 2026, Kennedy posted on Facebook, "It's going to get much worse, and nonviolent ideology and our politicians aren't going to save us. We need to become ungovernable. We need to actively resist any way we can to materially stop the Nazi occupation forces." On or about January 14th, 2026, at 10:03 p.m., Sant was present when rioters broke into the Federal Bureau of Investigation vehicles and stole several items, including a firearm, on the north side of Minneapolis. Now, to be clear about all of these incidences, most of these incidences were filmed or streamed by groups like Status Quo News and Midas Media, who go on the ground, like at places like Live Delaney Hall, and actually show what is happening on the ground. So this evening, I was actually watching one of these live streams, and basically what happened in short was the protesters were facing off against the police, and they were actually able to chase them back behind their vehicles, and the police had left doors open and protesters were able to get into the doors. So it's likely from this information, I am thinking that how they started to target these individuals were through these live streams, like the cops watching them and trying to figure out who these individuals were. On or about January 14th, 2026, at 10:09 p.m., Sant sent a message in the TCDA Signal group message stating ICE is gone. Standoff here with MPD, Minneapolis Metropolitan Police Department, in riot gear. On or about January 14th, Sant sent a message in the TCDA Signal group message stating some folks raided an ICE vehicle for paperwork. On or about January 15th, Sant wrote an article for CrimeThink, an anarchist blog that styles itself as an international network of aspiring revolutionaries. This was the blog that also had information about the rapid response networks. Sant's article, North Minneapolis Chases Out ICE, a first-hand account of the response to another ICE shooting, discussed law enforcement's response to an officer-involved shooting in North Minneapolis. In the aftermath, Sant wrote, the officers lost control of the area and retreated, ceding the streets to those who had defied them. Sant continued, ICE agents abandoned several vehicles in the area. Demonstrators opened up the vehicles and found identity cards, paperwork, license plates, operational plans, tactical gear, and other items. In the article, Sant discussed individuals breaking into an ICE vehicle. Sant described hearing someone yell, this is one, this is ICE, while pointing at a silver SUV parked on 24th Avenue North. Sant said he then checked the plates against the database of ICE vehicles that activists keep, saw that she was correct, and instantly felt silly for doing clerical work in the middle of a riot. Sant explained that someone started whacking one of the side windows with the ice scraper that had been in the previous vehicle, striking it as hard as possible. After a few swings, there was a satisfying crunch as the window gave in. I also want to be clear here that as part of this indictment and the press conference that was aired earlier this morning, the federal agents are equating property damage with violence. And to be clear, the anarchist political theory does not view physical property damage as violence. They only view physical harm against human bodies as violence. So this is sort of like an opportunity for miscommunication and misunderstanding between the defendants and the co-conspirators that is good to be aware of when you start listening to things like the press conferences. I noticed there was a question in the press conference where a reporter asked whether any of the agents and officers had been physically harmed as part of the indictment charges, and the person speaking at the podium said that they were very violent. And so that's where we can start getting a news misinformation sort of echo chamber where the news reports that they were violent and people start thinking that they hurt or like physically harmed police officers in each of these instances, which is not true. So just to clarify that here. After a few swings, there was a satisfying crunch as the window gave in. People around me began kicking in these windows too. Somebody got the driver's side door open and threw a firecracker inside. From on or about January 16th to on or about January 17th, Appland and Wagner had a conversation in Signal chat. Appland messaged Wagner stating, hey, are you still in the cities? My comrades may be able to use your help. Do you still have that space in North, kind of high security thing, so I want to be extremely careful if we decide to use the space, if indeed it is open. Building things, need production space, fuck ICE. Wagner responded, let's have a face-to-face conversation soon, we have resources. Appland replied, 10 a.m. my place, and provided his address. On or about January 17th, 2026, at approximately 11:46 a.m., Davis sent a message in the TCDA Signal group message stating, announcement, please read. Working group delegates, please post links to your groups in reply to this message after reading to the bottom. The spokes coordinating group has been meeting and we're making good progress. This message is to communicate some information and to ask y'all to resort yourselves into the final action groups for Friday, 1/23. Update, we're all in for 1/23. We have some initial plans, but also a few challenges. So, especially if you have connections to AFL-CIO leadership or decision makers, please ask them to focus on Whipple and not downtown. This one is very significant because this is tying now an official labor union to this indictment. So there is a chance that the federal law enforcement may target for investigation official unions like AFL-CIO as a part of this mission. The second thing that I want to make clear here on this note is that the indictment appears to have very detailed and complete signal chats. So signal chat should not be considered a safe or completely fail-proof encrypted messaging service, because it appears that the federal law enforcement have been able to almost fully get the signal chat history of all of those involved, regardless of the status of encryptment. So that's just something to be aware of for other organizers or people who use the app for other purposes. On or about January 18th, Wagner posted a video on his Instagram account, chaos.follows, which was captioned, "I'm fundraising for other mutual aid networks and spending my resources fighting back and organizing the direct action that's getting us results. If you can't be here and want to see us take the fight to them, give me your support and help us stop ICE now. My link is in my bio. Fund community protection and anti-ICE direct action. # Viva la Resistance." On or about January 18th at approximately 10:15 a.m., Applin sent a text message to Wagner stating, "Hey Kyle, Wagner, are you still planning on coming by this morning? Ike Sant and I are hanging out here waiting for you." On or about January 18th at approximately 11:17 a.m., Wagner sent a text message to Applin stating, "Here." Applin also sent a text message to Wagner, called him, and left a voicemail. What they're doing here is trying to establish that they did meet in person. On or about January 18th at approximately 12:23 p.m., Applin introduced Wagner to Sant in the January DIY Signal group message. Applin messaged Kyle, Wagner, Isaac Sant. On or about January 18th, Sant proposed a white flyer advertising the January 23rd blockade at the Whipple building in the January DIY Signal group message. The same flyer was later posted to the BCWC's Facebook page. On or about January 18th, at approximately 4:56 p.m., Sant messaged Wagner in the January DIY Signal chat group. "Good talking today. Let me know when the earliest date and time we could use that warehouse is." Sant, Wagner, and Applin met earlier that day. On or about January 18th at approximately 4:59 a.m., Applin messaged Wagner on Signal. "Would it be all right useful if I connect you with a comrade from Chicago who has carpenter friends who want to help with shield building?" So this note is important because it starts to establish that what they are doing in this warehouse is building shields, which is a very common tactic by anti-fascist and anarchist groups around the country who may or may not be participating in those Black Bloc events. On or about January 18th at approximately 5:39 p.m., Applin created a new Signal chat group called New Friends and added Wagner and Sam. Applin messaged in the group, "Kyle, meet Sam. Sam is coming up from Chicago tonight to support us. Also has some friend here who want to help with shield building. I learned this morning that Kyle was planning to build a shield as well. I learned about Sam from my longtime California comrade, Forrest, who also happens to be on this chat." On or about January 19th, the BCWC's public Facebook page advertised direct action to shut down ICE and listed the date as January 23rd. The post also stated the Whipple building is ICE headquarters for the entire upper Midwest. If we shut them down here, we halt the deportation machine everywhere. All out to Whipple this Friday. So now they're establishing that the group tried to get people from across the country to participate in this direct action. Sant later posted an image of the direct action to shut down ICE image to the TCDA Signal group chat. On or about January 19th at approximately 6:15 p.m., Sant sent a message in the TCDA Signal group message stating, "I just circled around Whipple in a car and scoped it out. There were 15 Hennepin sheriff cars there, with 2 by the light rail and 2 in the south lot, and all the rest near Gate 3 and on Federal Drive and in the tennis building lot. We should expect and plan for at least that many sheriff vehicles to be there on Friday. Their main goal is going to be to keep us out of the street and on the sidewalk. If we have the numbers, this may be difficult for them. Every spoke should adjust their plans accordingly." On or about January 20th, Kennedy purchased a trailer from Capital Car on Facebook Marketplace. Kennedy messaged that he was borrowing a truck that could pick up the trailer the following day. On or about January 21st, at approximately 1:15, Sant received a text from U-Haul. On or about January 21st, at approximately 7:01, Wagner sent a signal message to Applin stating, "Did you guys want me to share the flyer for Friday?" Applin responded, "Yes, that's public." On or about January 21st, at approximately 3:15 p.m., Sant texted an individual about neighborhood rapid response groups, describing them as extremely well organized and have very good communication practices. Signal groups with 1,000 people in them form every day and are deleted and recreated every night. We benefit a lot from a counter-surveillance program called Whipple Watch, which is mostly what I did for the first 5 weeks of the invasion. That's people posted up at the big federal building, taking pictures of ICE license plates and adding them to a publicly accessible database in real time. Sant continued, there's also a lot of frustrating peace policing and a level of OPSEC that can be paralyzing. Probably 8,000 to 10,000 people are volunteering to patrol their neighborhoods. When they find a kidnapping in progress, there is not a strong culture of physically resisting, although that may be changing since Renee's murder. The most frustrating thing is when you show up at kidnapping and the person running dispatch tells you to stay 30 feet away and take pictures. To be clear, that was a tactic that was taught by groups such as Monarca, who were trying to keep other protesters safe, as well as just make sure that they got the documentation through the form of pictures. Or even worse, when they say, stay away from there, we have enough observers. An ad hoc liberal coalition called Defend 612 plays an outsized role. That's another one of those groups. After the murder, my crew called for a mass spokescouncil about planning direct action resistance to ICE. We countered a ton of pushback from libs in every rapid response group. On or about January 22nd at approximately 8:34, Applin sent a message to Wagner on Signal stating, we do need 1 or 2 of your trucks if you can make them available. This is an essential moment. The plan may or may not go forward if someone does not volunteer a truck. The trucks may not be lost. They just might be marked. Plates might be compromised. On or about January 22nd at approximately 11:05, Applin sent a message in the construction invoice number 7, Signal chat group stating Cam Kennedy meet Kyle Wagner. Kyle is very generously offering a truck. Wagner responded, what's up, happy to help. Kennedy replied, hey Kyle, you are a hero. We need this bad to pull off our action tomorrow. Kennedy messaged, well, if you are willing to face possible arrest, it would be to use your truck to drive a trailer and deploy it with a small team of vetted folk to block a roadway. Time permitting, using chains to flip it. If you aren't comfortable with that, letting us borrow your truck will ensure that we can make this action happen. Wagner responded, for sure, can empty the truck and let it go missing. I've been urged by the community not to engage and to stay free, so I cannot get arrested. But this truck has already been stolen twice out of Uptown, and we're going to let that happen again today, yeah? Kennedy replied, love it. We have another driver lined up, so that works grand. When can we pick it up? And do you have a 2-inch hitch for the trailer? Wagner messaged, it has hitches and balls for 2 or 2 and 5/6. I will have it cleaned out and ready this afternoon. You can take it after I have my shit cleared out. Between on or about January 22nd and 23rd, Applin and Wagner exchanged approximately 20 connected signal calls. On or about January 23rd and approximately 7:01 a.m., Kennedy rented a 10-foot moving van from a U-Haul location in St. Paul, Minnesota. On or about January 23rd at approximately 7 a.m., Thorsten was near the Jake the Plumber business in her white Subaru with a black trailer. On or about January 23rd at approximately 7 a.m., Sant walked from the Jake the Plumber business and entered the U-Haul moving and storage at Hiawatha U-Haul, which is located on Hiawatha Avenue in Minneapolis. At approximately 7:21 and 7:27 a.m., Sant received short code text messages from U-Haul. At approximately 7:30, Sant drove a U-Haul cargo trailer from Hiawatha U-Haul to Jake the Plumber business. Multiple individuals loaded shields into the U-Haul cargo trailer in the Jake the Plumber parking lot. During this time, Thorsten was near the Jake the Plumber business in her Subaru. At approximately 7:39 a.m., Davis sent a message in the TCDA signal group stating, people who are on the ground today should leave and delete this group. At approximately 8:39 a.m., Thorsten drove the Subaru with a black trailer to a parking lot in and around the northwest corner of the Whipple building and parked. At approximately 8:44 a.m., Sant drove the U-Haul cargo trailer to the North Park and Ride parking lot at or around the Whipple building. Sant exited the U-Haul cargo trailer and walked to the Fort Snelling light rail station. Doyle was a passenger in the U-Haul cargo carrier. At approximately 8:47 a.m., a crowd gathered across the main gate of the Whipple building. Several of the individuals later met with Sant and took part in the soft blockade at the light rail station on Minnehaha Avenue. At approximately 8:48 a.m., Sant entered the Fort Snelling light rail station. At approximately 8:53 a.m., 7 individuals left the main gate at or around the Whipple building and met Sant at the Fort Snelling light rail station. The group was carrying walkie-talkies and wearing neon vests. Sant appeared to give instructions while holding a walkie-talkie in his hand. At approximately 8:54 a.m., Kim and Stewart were at the Fort Snelling light rail station. Kim received a radio. At approximately 8:59 a.m., Doyle unloaded large ice out and Palestine flag shields from the back of the U-Haul cargo carrier in and around the North Park and Ride parking lot to a crowd of approximately 30 to 40 people. Doyle also passed out pieces of white 55-gallon drums and wooden items to the crowd. This is significant because this point is also tying the Palestine Action Resistance to this federal indictment, which unfortunately does subject people who may be resisting the occupation of Palestine to federal investigation and indictment. Unfortunately, I believe that we are in a global revolution against capitalism and colonialist forces, and this point is also making that connection clear in this federal indictment. Between approximately 9:01 a.m. and 9:03 a.m., Sant met with a group of individuals at the Fort Snelling light rail station and appears to give them directions. The group then started walking towards the North Park and Ride. At approximately 9:05 a.m., Sant left the Fort Snelling light rail station and walked towards the North Park and Ride parking lot at or around the Whipple building. Between approximately 9:22 and 9:25, Sant provided a radio to an individual in a group wearing neon vests and holding shields and barriers from the North Park and Ride parking lot towards the soft blockade at or around the light rail station on Minnehaha Avenue. At or around 9:27 a.m., Doyle drove the U-Haul cargo carrier away from the area of the North Park and Ride parking lot. At or around 9:38 a.m., Doyle drove the U-Haul cargo carrier to the area at or around Doyle's residence on Snelling Avenue in Minneapolis. At approximately 9:46 a.m., the group holding the shields and barriers stood side by side, shoulder to shoulder, blocking road and vehicular traffic, forming a soft blockade in the road. At or around 10 a.m., Sant told individuals participating in the soft blockade that he was going to see if the other blockade was deployed. Sant then walked from the soft blockade towards the Whipple building's main gate. At or around 10:11, Sant directed individuals towards the soft blockade. At or around 10:17, Robinette was seen participating in the soft blockade. At or around 10:22, Sant spoke with the group across the Whipple building main gate. Several individuals from the group threw large ice blocks at law enforcement vehicles and into the road at or around this time. This note is significant because it is unclear from this note several individuals from the group who were across the Whipple building main gate, which were also non-affiliated protesters, threw large ice blocks. And it is unclear who they were, if there was risk of harm, how large were the ice blocks. So I think this is significant in that they're trying to tie these actions of people in the group who may not be affiliated with the defendants in this indictment. So I think this one is going to be heavily contested by, any evidence in the court and any jury who potentially sees this. At or around 10:29 a.m., Sant spoke with an RRN member and then walked back to the soft blockade. At approximately 10:29, Thorsten was participating in the soft blockade. At around 10:32 a.m., a U-Haul cargo carrier towed a trailer that flipped over at Bloomington Road and Minnehaha North Avenue North. At or around 10:58, a truck with the identifiable features of Wagner's vehicle towed the trailer that was purchased by Kennedy. The trailer later crashed near the intersection of 7th Street West and South Davern Street. So just to be clear, they are engaging in property damage of U-Haul commercial property. So I'm also thinking that it is very likely that this indictment came as a result of potentially the U-Haul companies maybe complaining or reaching out to law enforcement with evidence because of this destruction of property. From approximately 10:39 a.m. to 11:11 a.m., individuals near the main gate of the Whipple building threw large ice blocks at law enforcement vehicles. Once again, we are not clear who these individuals are or if they are affiliated with the defendants. These could be entirely separate or entirely individual people. And once again, they are throwing the ice blocks at vehicles, not the actual officers themselves. So this is an instance of property damage, which may or may not be considered actual violence, depending on who you ask. At or around 10:47 a.m., individuals formed a second soft blockade east of the Whipple building main entrance. At or around 11:05 a.m., Wagner posted a video to his Kyle Wagner Facebook account stating, "I'm Kyle, I'm Antifa, I'm on my way to Whipple with a bunch of gas masks with filters. Get in my DMs, give me a salute, and let me know how to best get you taken care of. There's more. I have everything I can fit in the car at the moment." So once again, we are tying anti-fascist organizing and keeping people safe in community. Like, so there were people who handed out gas masks during Operation Metro Surge, who just wanted nonviolent protesters to not, suffer from tear gas or other potentially toxic or poisonous chemicals that were deployed by ICE and federal officials and law enforcement during the Metro Surge. So we are getting, in my opinion, sort of dangerous ties here in this indictment that opens up potentially unaffiliated people to federal investigation and indictment. At or around 11:14 a.m., Sant left the soft blockade site, walked towards another individual, and then walked back to the soft blockade site. At or around 11:18, Wagner took a video of a trailer flipped over at Bloomington Road and Minnehaha South Avenue North. At or around 11:24, the soft blockade moved to the area at or around the North Park and Ride parking lot and set up in the street. At or around 11:32, Wagner was in the North Park and Ride parking lot in a white Chevy Blazer. At or around 11:35, an unindicted co-conspirator texted Wagner, "Where you at?" Wagner responded, "I'm going to roll down here. Where do you guys think you want to park? Over at 1010 or what?" The unindicted co-conspirator replied, "We are figuring it out." This note is important because this shows that they have potentially future co-conspirators that they might choose to investigate and indict. At approximately 11:37 a.m., Thorsten drove to the Subaru with a black trailer away from the parking lot in and around the northwest corner of the Whipple building. Sant was a passenger in the Subaru. At or around 11:42, Wagner posted a video to his Kyle Wagner Facebook account stating, "I am at the North Fort Snelling Park and Ride, and we have a blockade of protesters across the street with shields prepared to stand guard here." At or around 11:55 a.m., an unindicted co-conspirator texted Wagner, "I'm going to be in a million pictures. I'm kind of not ready." Wagner responded, "That's okay. Your voice carries. Be proud, baby. I'm proud of you, and others will find strength in what you do." The unindicted co-conspirator replied, "Did you hear me, Big? I got a big with a guy in a plow, lol." I'm not sure what that means. Wagner texted, "I saw you front and center with your shield yelling and heard you when I was walking up." At or around 11:58 a.m., Wagner sent a video to an unindicted co-conspirator which showed him driving the trailer that was tipped over at Minnehaha Avenue North and Bloomington Road. Wagner texted, "We shot, or maybe shit, down both the back entrances and have them trapped one way in and one way out from that north entrance." The unindicted co-conspirator texted, "I wasn't even scared. I was ready to tell them fuck off, and I did." So once again, I'm not sure whether they did censor a lot of swear words in this, so I'm thinking maybe this is shit, which concerning, but there's no other notes about potential feces and defecation, so I don't know what this co-conspirator is talking about here. And here it's clear they were ready to tell them to fuck off, and I did. So they are using their voice here and standing with a shield. So to some people, this may or may not be considered violence, depending on how you feel about blockades and shield walls. At or around 2:52 p.m., Sant drove the U-Haul cargo carrier from residence on Cheatham Avenue in Minneapolis and parked in front of Doyle's residence on Snelling Avenue in Minneapolis. Doyle entered the passenger side of the U-Haul cargo carrier, and the U-Haul cargo carrier departed the area. Sant drove the U-Haul cargo carrier with Doyle as a passenger to the Hiawatha U-Haul to return it. At or around 3:05, Sant drove the U-Haul cargo carrier to the Hiawatha U-Haul. Doyle was the passenger. Okay. On or about January 23rd at approximately 12:20, Sant sent a message in the TCDA signal group message stating, "I got out and I'm home safe. We held the intersection at Minnehaha and Federal for 2.5 hours. ICE was totally blocked in for half an hour and inconvenienced all morning." So to be clear, the conspirators or defendants named say that what they did, what their goal was, to box them in and inconvenience them. Once again, this is up to you whether you decide that this is violence or not. On or about January 24th, Wagner posted a video on his Instagram account, Chaos Falls, where he stated, "I am Kyle, I am Antifa, and they just shot another fucking peaceful observer literally 5 fucking blocks away from here, in my neighborhood, just like they shot Renee 14 blocks away over there. It needs to be said. You can't march and bang drums and sing songs where they're shooting people in the fucking head. Go and fucking fight them." And this must have been when Alex Preddy was killed. And once again, he's talking about fighting. On or about January 24th, Wagner posted a video on his Instagram account, Chaos Follows, while wearing a bulletproof vest. In the caption, Wagner directed anarchist kids to every armed American that's within a reasonable distance of 26th and Nicollet in uptown Minneapolis need to come and stand. Once again, make a stand. And I guess it's very significant that he was wearing a bulletproof vest and called for armed Americans, but one could also argue that that is him trying to protect himself and calling upon like a Second Amendment style, protest where you like show up and you like have guns on you, which is generally not advisable. So this is what they played, I believe, at the press briefing earlier this morning as sort of like their smoking gun to say that the co-conspirators are like violent, they're not usual protesters, and that's why they're specifically going after these defendants. During the video, Wagner explained, "I have my truck on standby. I have gas masks on the ground there as much as I could deliver. I have people en route. If you're seeing this video, we're done with peaceful protests now. The gloves come off and ICE needs to get out. Run for the hills, boys." Wagner stated, "I've repeated myself ad nauseum to a deaf ears of cowards and bitches made of, I'm not sure what swear word this is. Oh, maybe little fuck boys, that was to fucking talk about their fucking feelings instead of putting hands on these murderers." Very ill-advised social media post, to say the least. And so this is definitely, probably what put him immediately on the federal, radar. On or about January 24th, Wagner posted a video on his Instagram account, Chaos Follows, where while wearing a bulletproof vest, Wagner admitted to being Antifa. Once again, being anti-fascist. Wagner stated, "If you are caught up, it's time to suit up. Boots on the ground, Nicollet and fucking 26th. My house is 4 blocks away, anywhere between Franklin and Nicollet and 26th and Nicollet. Show up ready to go." Okay, no, not talking about peaceful protests anymore. We're not talking about having polite conversations anymore. This is exactly what I said was gonna fucking come when we didn't fucking go march on fucking Whipple with guns. Ooh. Sorry, but welcome to America 2026, where the Second Amendment is the only thing that's going to keep you fucking protected from literal fucking Nazi gunmen that are killing innocent people in the street with impunity. This is not a fucking joke. There's nothing fun to chant about it. Get your fucking guns and stop these fucking people. Once again, arguably, this is a threat for violence, or it could be a Second Amendment style protest where you're like showing up armed. On or about January 24th, Kennedy posted on Facebook, "The massive amount of support for physical resistance in the streets against ICE today made everyone who resists safer. By supporting the resistance, you are helping create a smoke screen of discontent that makes us all safer and harder to track. Moreover, when Frontline feels supported, they act far more boldly because they know if they fight ICE in the street, folks actually harbor them and help them instead of lecturing them on nonviolence." He is right here. So this is a strategic note about how the more people who show up, it is harder for the federal and immigration and law enforcement people to target people who are trying to fight on the front lines. On or about January 25th, Sant wrote an article for CrimeThink, which is an anarchist blog that styles itself as an international network of aspiring revolutionaries. In the article titled "Minneapolis Response to the Murder of Alex Preddy," Sant wrote that it was an eyewitness account from an anarchist in Minneapolis. Sant discussed receiving a signal message about individuals manning a barricade and facing off against ICE on Nicollet Avenue. Sant stated that my friend and I decided to join them. He described a large crowd behind wooden barricades on Nicollet Avenue with ICE and Customs and Border Protection officers on the opposite side. Sant stated we could see fear in their eyes. Sant stated that law enforcement fired tear gas at him and the crowd, and then ICE SUVs and an armored vehicle attempted to leave the scene towards the highway. Sant wrote, "We ran down First Street where I'd started out to try to catch the agents as they retreated. We turned and ran north back up to 26th. People were peppering their cars with rocks and ice chunks as they drove off towards the 35W on-ramp." This is also one of those significant notes that he says people were peppering their cars with rocks and ice chunks. It's not clear whether he himself or whether any of the other defendants were doing so, or these were just individuals who happened to show up at this protest and, which turned into a riot. On or about January 26th, Wagner posted a video on his Instagram account, Antifa.chaos, where he stated, "My name is Kyle, I'm Antifa, and I'm back. The fight is well and alive. We have pushed ICE to leave this city in droves. We have made our voices heard. Viva la resistance." On or about January 26th, Wagner posted a video on his Instagram account, Antifa.chaos, that showed a pickup truck pulling up to a crowd. Wagner got out of the truck and asked who needs a gas mask, and then also pulled out a bag of gas masks and passed them out. Wagner also passed out shields, stating the shields and shit in the truck is free to grab. This video is captioned, "Power to the people, Minneapolis, Antifa, if you know, you know, fuck ICE, fuck Trump, Iron Front." I remember seeing this video on social media, and it's also very important that the people who took the shields, and gas masks and stuff did not necessarily intend to use them for the stated purpose that Kyle Wagner maybe intended them to be used, because as I mentioned before, peaceful nonviolent protesters also want to protect themselves from the tear gas and other potentially toxic and deadly munitions that were used, including that green canister smoke, which has been shown to have really high heavy lead levels and stuff. So this is not, in my personal opinion, very bothersome because just helping people to stay safe in that moment was really powerful. On or about January 27th, Wagner sent a direct signal message to Bear explaining he was about to go on a mission to Wisconsin to obtain fireworks, and then he will be in the streets for the rest of the day. Wagner continued, "Welcome Homan, White House borders are Tom Homan properly. I need some black bloc kids to give Homan a proper welcome. Just picked up some party favors, looking for some real ones. Same people we need to start targeting ICE convoys with more direct interventions." The signal user Bear stated, "What exactly do you think your part is?" Wagner replied, "Easy target, draw attention to distract and occupy them so they don't target the mutual aid or community watchers. Give them a face to hate so they aren't focused on the real movement behind the scenes. I'm a spectacle, a punchable face and loudmouth, and everything they hate." This is one of the posts that I actually really feel for this guy, because he is really targeted in this indictment, and truly, if the feds do just target him, he did potentially keep the mutual aid and community watchers safer. But that's just my personal opinion. On or about January 27th, Wagner posted a video on his Instagram account, Antifa Chaos, where he applauded the success of the efforts to impede federal immigration enforcement, stating, "I'm Kyle, I'm Antifa, welcome to Minneapolis, got rid of Bavina yesterday, also sent a lot of ICE agents packing, it's working people, the pressure is getting results." On or about January 27th, the defendants and others attended an after-action meeting held at the Democratic Socialists of America office about the January 23rd blockade at the Whipple building. Members of BCWC, TCDA, and the Democratic Socialists of America attended the meeting. Sant and Davis led the meeting. Sant collected participants' cell phones, smartwatches, and other electronic devices and placed them in a plastic bin. This note is very, very important because it is now tying a political action group, Democratic Socialists of America, to this indictment, thereby opening them up to federal investigation and indictment, which is incredibly... I feel for them, and this is, just going to make them super unsafe, in my opinion, and they should be very careful. During the meeting, participants broke into 6 groups: marshals, medics, hard blockade, soft blockade, jail support, and propaganda communications. At the meeting, Sant and Robinette admitted to taking part in the soft blockade at the Whipple building on January 23rd. Kennedy and Mistarek discussed their involvement in the hard blockade around the Whipple building on January 23rd. Davis and Sant identified themselves as members of BCWC. During the meeting, Davis said, "We're anarchists." Sant stated, "One thing we in Black Cat are going to be doing in the next 2 or 3 weeks is calling for some sort of regroupment meeting for revolutionary anarchists in the Twin Cities." Sant discussed participants in the meeting breaking into 6 groups: marshals, medics, hard blockades, soft blockades, propaganda group, and communications and jail support. Davis said, "In order to learn from our direct action, we absolutely must analyze them and learn from them afterwards." On or about January 30th, Kennedy posted on Facebook, "It's really encouraging to see tens of thousands still in the streets to protest in Minneapolis. I want y'all to realize that though if we had those numbers down at the Whipple building today, we could shut down most of ICE's operations in the state and actually have protected our people for at least a day today. We need to focus our energy strategically to maximize disruption of ICE and minimize our own losses in people and materials. It takes a lot less to block 3 entrances into the federal building than a 75,000 march. We need to physically shut them the fuck down. I encourage you all to think about how to physically stop ICE, disrupt their logistics, or otherwise directly impede them in your own life, and find the courage to escalate your tactics to something more confrontational. We need to fight to win, not just for show. What I think is significant about this note is how these tactics have been developed and improved for Delaney Hall protests in New Jersey. And it shows that it shows that definitely the police are very concerned about these tactics getting spread and growing because of the half-mile block radius around Delaney Hall that the law enforcement tried to initiate to like keep protesters away from the building to prevent them from blocking the entrances and disrupting their activities. So this indictment is actually telling protesters this is what is working to stop them from doing their jobs, is literally blocking the entrances. So I think that is also an important thing to note from this indictment. On or about February 1st at approximately 3 p.m., Kennedy, Vanderwater Davis, and other co-conspirators attended a group meeting sponsored by TCDA's propaganda and communications team. Kennedy discussed TCDA's finances. Kennedy said that TCDA raised approximately $5,000 in preparation for the January 23rd action at the Whipple building. Kennedy wanted to use funds to stockpile materials to assist with other organizations, but he wanted the focus of the meeting to be about aiding TCDA. Kennedy explained these people who are taking, high risks to shut down ICE operations and make everything safer for everybody, and they're not getting funded. So the purpose in my head for this funding is to give it to these frontliners and not just this group. The idea is of also being that we stockpile materials for other groups and can provide training. Kennedy stated, "Hi, my name's Cam. I'm now all of night in the chat. I'm a revolutionary anarchist. I've more or less traveled around the country doing various types of struggles since I was 15. I've got fairly extensive experience with how to specifically coordinate propaganda with effective direct action to help supply materially." At the meeting, Kennedy discussed, "We are on the precipices of real political power that is completely goes over both political parties." Kennedy discussed living in Minneapolis' Cedar neighborhood. He stated they are operating a blockade on his street that stops ICE vehicles. On or about February 5th, Wagner wore a sweatshirt that had "I'm Antifa" on the front. Wagner possessed multiple Antifa patches at his residence. I think this note is absolutely hilarious because I think he is wearing these and doing these things ironically because there is no such thing as Antifa. And so they're putting this in the indictment as evidence that he is like a part of a group called Antifa. So I think this one's really funny. On or about February 5th, Kennedy posted to Facebook, "I swear I'm going to lose my fucking mind if I see that if 3.5% of the population is committed to peaceful revolution, they win bullshit. It's given far too many well-meaning people a fake-ass idea of what it takes to win. It has folks attacking militant elements of the resistance and aiding the state against them because they think violence or even property destruction is counter-revolutionary. They could not be more wrong. I want to make this as clear as I can. You will never win with nonviolence alone. Ever. No one has. No one will. You absolutely need militants to win. I'm sorry the world is so cruel, but this is the real world, not a fucking fairy tale." Once again, a very ill-advised social media post, but depending on which scholars you're reading, could be the truth. He's talking about Erica Chenoweth's 3.5% statistic from their research about successful revolutions. And so Erica Chenoweth actually found that in research of revolutions that nonviolent protests were more effective than militant and violent protest strategies, and that is the theory and ideology that a lot of indivisible groups and no kings style organizations have been advocating since the beginning of this resistance movement. On or about February 5th, Kennedy posted on Facebook about recent property destruction at Eugene Federal Building in Oregon, stating, "Huge props to Eugene for breaking enough shit to actually shut down the Fed building. Property destruction clearly won the day here, and we should all take notice. Fuck these dumb fuck pacifists. They aren't comrades. They are allies of the state." Once again, very ill-advised social media post. On or about February 6th, federal immigration officers were engaged in an arrest operation on or around Cedar Avenue in Minneapolis. Sant drove a red Subaru and followed vehicles that were driven by federal immigration officers. Federal immigration officers stopped the Subaru and warned Sant that they were engaged in official duties and that any interference would constitute a violation of federal law. Despite the warning, Sant continued to follow the immigration officer's vehicle and impeded the transport of the detained individual. On or about February 7th at approximately 10:12 a.m., Doyle loaded shields into the back of his Dodge Ram at or around Doyle's residence on Snelling Avenue in Minneapolis. On or about February 7th at approximately 11:30, Davis and others attended a rally, Defend Our Community from ICE and Fascists, which was hosted by BCWC and another Antifa organization, unnamed. Numerous attendees wore Antifa-branded sweatshirts. A BCWC member stated that their security was armed and ready to deal with any armed counter-protesters that showed up. This note makes me think, I wonder if the investigators in this actually know that they do this stuff as, like, irony. Like, they're saying, like, yes, I'm Antifa, but, like, Antifa is not a organized group. On or about February 11th, at approximately 3:04 p.m., Sant sent a message in the TCDA Signal chat group stating Black Cat is part of the coalition putting on this week of action. I want to make a proposal for TCDA to get involved too. Specifically, I'd like us to take responsibility for an action at a certain corporate target something during that week. We'll say more at the meeting. On or about February 12th, at approximately 11:16, Sant sent a message in the TCDA Signal chat group stating even a huge drawdown to 300 agents would still leave us in the same shoes we were in December. There were 40 ICE ERO field agents doing raids before the invasion. Anything more than that is bullshit. We have to keep going. On or about February 12th, at or around 2:23 p.m., Davis sent a message in the TCDA Signal chat group stating, hey y'all, I'm really excited that we're going to have our next TCDA meeting tomorrow night. The discussed drawdown will likely have a diminishing effect on many of those who have been active in the last couple of months. That would be a tragedy. The amount of self-organization we have seen is impressive. It should not be lost but preserved. The revolutionary potential of our organizations, if continued and allowed to grow in experience and militancy, should not be underestimated. This note is very, very important today, in particular on June 16th, because all of these chat groups still exist. All of these rapid response groups still exist. And because of this indictment and the arrests, all of them were activated, mobilized, and alerted. So there is a chance that we will see increased mobilization of activists and just general protest in Minneapolis and the surrounding Twin Cities over the next couple of weeks. On or about February 12th, Robinette and other unindicted co-conspirators attended a virtual meeting sponsored by TCDA. At the meeting, Robinette discussed having sharpshooters of the roof, the parking ramp across the street from a prior TCDA meeting. Robinette noted, I don't think that's relevant. We don't need to do that at this time. We just had no idea what to expect, and that's awesome because that was the most boring job I've ever had in my fucking life. This is very interesting. I would be very curious about what happened this day and like what he's talking about, because like, did he have a gun? When he says sharpshooters, is he talking about this like observation like with cameras and stuff that they were doing of the like Whipple watch kind of stuff, or was it actually guns? And it's not clear from this post. On or about February 13th, that's approximately 7, the defendants and others attended a meeting sponsored by TCDA for vetted members only. The purpose of the meeting was to discuss TCDA organization and structure. Davis moderated the meeting. Davis said they are anarchists. The group discussed whether TCDA would be narrowly focused on anti-ICE activities or would have a broader focus on being anti-regime function. Davis concluded, we will be broadly anti-authoritarian. We're going to be broadly anti-capitalist. This is fascinating to me because if they collected cell phones, as it says in the next one, at the meeting, Kim collected cell phones and walked them to a room in the back. Kennedy discussed the need for trucks that could be used in future blockade. This suggests that they were potentially infiltrated, or somebody in the meeting talked to the federal law enforcement agencies. So this is fascinating. We're going to probably hear during the court case whether that is the case or how they got this information. At the meeting, Sant stated that he had just come from a meeting with organizers from Minnesota 5051 and Sunrise. He stated those groups wanted to do a march from Fort Snelling to the Whipple building on March 1st and requested the assistance of TCDA in organizing a blockade at the eastern entrance at Gate 3. This is also very interesting and concerning because it ties a peaceful, liberal protest organization, Minnesota 5051, with supposedly asking them to create a blockade at the eastern entrance at Gate 3. But this was just at a meeting. We aren't clear about the source here. Like, is this just attendee that shared this information with the feds, or were they actually infiltrated? This is unknown at this time. On or about February 13th at approximately 9:11 p.m., Vanda Water Davis sent a message in the TCDA signal chat group stating, at Erico, Davis, or at Ike, Sant, please add this to the group discussion for convenience. Our next is Tuesday, 2/16 at 7 p.m. Host at Sparky Bazel, facilitator at Shotzi Thorson, notes Smoka Hontus, unindicted co-conspirator, pending addition in materials crew. On or about February 13th at approximately 9:18 p.m., Doyle sent an attachment titled Working Group Structure Draft in the TCDA Signal Chat Group. On or about February 13th at approximately 10:06 p.m., Vanda Water Davis sent a message in the TCDA Signal Chat Group stating people who would like to be part of the March 1st Whipple Project group, please flag/react to this message. Thank you. On or about February 14th at approximately 5:03 p.m., Applin sent a message in the TCDA Signal Chat Group stating, hey y'all, I just met/hung out with an anarchist visiting from the Bay Area who is here with a comrade to help/learn from us if she can. Doing a lot of anti-ICE stuff out there and very knowledgeable. I just met her, but a close comrade from California, Black Rose Anarchist Federation, introduced her as highly trusted. Once again, we're starting to tie groups across the country together, which is unfortunate because now they're opening themselves up to indictment and investigation. She's here for like 10 days or something, staying in Whittier, and wants to help with whatever she can. She mentioned a particular interest in patrolling ICE with cars. Anyway, please DM me if you want to meet/plug her into anything. She said to share her name, Marie. Doyle responded, get her to the Workers' Assembly tomorrow for sure, and posted a flyer titled Workers' Assembly to defeat ICE and plan the next mass strike. On or about February 15th at approximately 11:35 a.m., Sant posted screenshots of notes from a TCDA meeting held on February 13th in the TCDA Signal Chat Group. One screenshot was titled Draft Working Group Structure and listed the following roles: vetting/oversight, medic, shield, logistics, resources, information security, and security. On or about February 15th at approximately 3 p.m., Robinette and others attended a meeting held at the United Labor Center building in Minneapolis and sponsored by TCDA, BCWC, Ray Rainbow Memorial Shooting Club, Socialist Alternative, and other organizations. Robinette wore a Ray Rainbow hat and served on the special security team for the event. The group discussed medical, firearms, and hard security training. The participants began planning a March 1st, direct action at the Whipple building. Sant proposed organizing another blockade at the east entrance of the Whipple building. On or about February 16th at 11:32 a.m., Vanderwater Davis sent a message in the TCDA Signal Chat Group stating this chat, TCDA Signal Group, is being closed in the next 24 hours. We have concluded the initial vetting process and will be creating a new group chat with all vetted members. If you did not respond to a member of the vetting team by this time, you will not be added to the new group. You can still be added, you just need to complete the process. If you have questions, please DM the vetting team member you have been working with. Once the new chat is up, this chat will be renamed Leave and Delete. Please leave the group promptly and delete it from your message history. Don't forget to request to be added to the new chat before leaving this one. Vanderwater Davis sent the link to the new chat group, which was renamed TCDA2. On or about February 16th at approximately 11:38 a.m., an unindicted co-conspirator sent a message in the WHIP 31 Signal Chat group stating from @noob Vanderwater Davis, hey everyone, here's the link to the Week of Action site for everyone's reference, meltttheice.com. Ike Sant proposed at the meeting yesterday support the upcoming 3-1 protest ST Whipple with a hard blockade element, and we decided to strike this project group to make that happen. One thing I think will be important to start is getting additional delegates to the next General Week of Action meeting. Ike Sant was at the most recent one, which was also yesterday, but it will be beneficial to have a couple of people who can coordinate. On or about February 16th at approximately 12:55 p.m., Vanderwater Davis sent a message in the WHIP 31 Signal Chat group, stating there is a meeting with folks from Week of Action Coalition organizing on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Would anyone else like Ike Sant and myself at the meeting. Misdirect responded at approximately 8:15 p.m. I will try to be there. On or about February 17th, defendants and others attended a TCDA meeting on Pleasant Avenue in St. Paul. Baysdale organized the meeting. During this meeting, Sant and another male walked around the room and collected all attendees' cell phones and placed them in a tote bag. The group discussed de-arrest and swarm training. Thorsten moderated the meeting. Thorsten identified herself as a BCWC member and discussed old and new business. Old business topics included TCDA structure, organization, vetting process, and new members. New business topics included the March 1st direct action at the Whipple building, where the group planned to utilize a soft blockade and a hard blockade. This note makes me think that they got a hold of any sort of meeting notes for the group. During the meeting, Applin presented the vetting process for TCDA. At the February 17th meeting, Kennedy recommended that a TCDA member open a bank account at Truestone Financial because it allows its members to have multiple debit cards on one account. At the meeting, Sant discussed blocking Minnehaha Avenue as they had during January 23rd, direct action at the Whipple building. Stewart suggested organizing a soft blockade with shields. Vandewater Davis and Sant discussed the Red Pine Collective as overseeing direct action at the Whipple building on March 1st. Individuals associated with the Red Pine Collective requested that TCDA coordinate a hard blockade. Once again, tying another organization into this, unfortunately. On or about February 17th at approximately 9:12, Vandewater Davis sent the message in the WHIP 3-1 Signal chat group stating the basic plan for 3-1 is as follows. Rally point will be at 9 a.m. at the Whiskey the Horse gravesite at Fort Snelling. Side note, if you don't know what that is, you should look it up. It's really cool. It's a horse grave. Literally a horse is buried there. It's very cool. They rally will then take the street and walk under the freeway to Whipple. There will be a more focused meeting to hash out further details on Friday at 4:30 p.m. No location yet. On or about February 17th at approximately 9:08 p.m., Sant sent a message on the Renegade Signal chat group asking who else wants to be added to the 3-1 Whipple action planning chat. I know there are more people who didn't get added yet. Thorsten responded, 9, please add me. On or about February 17th at approximately 9 p.m., Sant sent a message in the WHIP 3-1 Signal chat group stating Melt the Ice organizers are asking us to do the same thing we did the 23rd, block Minnehaha while their march takes the street on the other side by 62E. Stewart responded, so soft blockade with shields? Misdirect replied, I say if we can figure it out, we go further than just that. On or about February 17th at approximately 9:55, Sant posted a screenshot of a map showing the Melt the Ice organization's proposed march route for the March 1st direct action at the Whipple building in WHIP 3-1 Signal chat group. Sant posted another screenshot of the map and messaged the group. Green is where they'll be at 10 a.m. Red is where they're suggesting for us TCDA to be. We don't have to do exactly that if we're feeling creative. From approximately February 18th to approximately March 30th, Sant sent numerous messages in the Whipple Plates and Whipple Watch Refresh Signal group chats, in which Sant provided detailed descriptions of government-issued vehicles and their license plates. On or about February 18th at approximately 9:25 a.m., Kennedy sent a message in the TCDA2 Signal group chat stating, I want to get a proposal on public fundraising set up for the next meeting. We are going to need at least one person to volunteer to open a bank account or use an existing one, ideally one that will issue multiple cards. Truestone was recommended. That will connect to a payment service that connects to an open collective. The person opening using their bank account is kind of a de facto treasurer. This role will have some level of risk. On or about February 18th at approximately 10:31 a.m., Sant sent a message in the WHIP 3-1 Signal chat group stating, I'm watching Whipple this morning. Looks like National Guard is in 2 Humvees near base camp on Airport Service Road, but not in the south lot. 2 sheriff cars near light rail, one posted up very close to 62E on ramp. On or about February 18th at approximately 10:39, Applin sent a message in the TCDA Signal chat group summarizing the vetting process discussed at the February 17th TCDA meeting. Applin wrote, TCDA will draft a code of conduct to send to prospective members. TCDA will also author a set of organizing principles to serve as a metric for who to recruit/admit to the organization. Vetting team will be sized accordingly to workload. Members of the vetting team will volunteer, but their service on the vetting team must be approved by TCDA. Members must have been active in TCDA for a minimum of 3 months. Applin continued, vetting structure committee also came up with some suggestions for future structural work, including decide on definition of direct action, write organizing principles, draft an ejection structure, draft a call list for structure. Applin noted that Ike Sant raised the opinion that we cannot actually avoid infiltration, especially by the federal government, but we should either do a real vetting procedure, i.e. ask candidates their legal name and do an internet background check, accessing public knowledge, address, legal history, work history, any info available publicly, which would actually catch/deter some spooks/infiltrators, or Alternatively, should not pretend to vet at all, but simply have a loose vouching system. Anything in between Ike, Sant characterized as security theater. Please thumbs up to this message if you would be comfortable undergoing vetting via an internet background check of your legal name as above. This would be done to all members, not just you, and those who refuse would be excluded from TCDA. Kennedy replied, I oppose enforcing the legal name search for the broader group. I propose a combination with subgroups like materials having a legal name vetting structure. Kennedy opposed the described level of vetting for subgroups such as art and propaganda. Appland responded, agreed. I didn't say all working groups, just the sensitive ones. On or about February 18th, at approximately 12:39 p.m., Vanderwater Davis sent a message in the WIP 31 Signal group chat stating, meeting info for Friday, 4:30. On Friday it is then. I can host at my house, XXX, W. Franklin. See you all then. Stewart responded, could you edit to clarify which meeting you are responding to? Vanderwater Davis replied, 3-1 specific planning meeting. This is the meeting we're having a meeting to prepare for. Sant message, to be totally clear, we are meeting tomorrow at 6:30 to come up with our own plan. Then Friday, Melt the Ice is doing a planning meeting for the whole Whipple March. That's 4:30 at address West Franklin. Kennedy responded, thanks, needed that. On or about February 18th, at approximately 5:14 p.m., Doyle sent a message in the WIP 31 Signal chat group stating, I've been delayed on the Shield building as I'm battling a bad cold. I'll get back on it and pump out the remainder when I recover. On or about February 19th, at approximately 9:31 p.m., Sant sent a message in the TCDA 2 Signal chat group stating, just want to give some updates from the working group meetings tonight. For the Whipple action, we looked at some maps. We came up with a specific plan for the first, March 1st. We flagged roles we need to fill, like drivers, deployment, marshals, and medics, and we verified that we can use Melt the Ice's jail support. We don't need to set up our own version. On or about February 19th, at approximately 9:10 p.m., Vanderwater Davis sent a message in the WIP 31 Signal chat group requesting information about the meeting that occurred that day. Sant replied it was good. We looked at some maps. We came up with a specific plan for the first. We flagged some roles we need to fill, like drivers, deployment, marshals, and medics. We decided on a big purchase and an ask for the fundraising team, and we verified that we can use Melt the Ice's jail support. On or about February 20th, at approximately 8:22 a.m., an unindicted co-conspirator sent a message in the Art Money Comms Club Signal chat group stating, for the Whipple 3-1 action, we're looking to raise about $10,000. Maybe we can make a graphic or coordinate a last-minute raffle. Kennedy responded, yeah, the Whipple project group has formally requested that we set a goal of $10,000 and ask the group to help get it. I recommend we call on members of our group to individually fundraise and give the money to someone in this group, most of which would be given to the Action Project group and the Materials group. I think we should also consider a temporary GoFundMe or something similar to the action to raise public funds. On or about February 20th, at approximately 10:58 a.m., Vanderwater Davis sent a message in the Art Money Comms Club Signal chat group stating, I'm going to need guidance on what we're asking for. Kennedy responded, the GoFundMe you were talking about, right? Based on last night's meeting, we set $10,000 as a fundraising goal for the WOA, Week of Action. I imagine the GoFundMe will have a brief description of the group, stating the purpose, which is for TCDA to logistically and materially support the WOA. I will announce the fundraising push in the general chat and mention we plan to make a temporary GoFundMe. On or about February 20th at approximately 2:09 p.m., Vanderwater Davis sent a message in the Art Money Comms Club Signal chat group describing what was written for the GoFundMe account. Hi, I'm Gabe Vanderwater Davis, and I'm representing Twin Cities Direct Action. We are a decentralized coalition of working class people engaged in various forms of community defense against the current federal occupation happening within the wider metro area and against state and far-right violence more broadly. Kennedy responded, looks great to me. On or about February 20th at approximately 2:46 p.m., Vanderwater Davis posted a link for the TCDA GoFundMe account in TCDA 2 Signal chat group. The link had a TCDA logo and read, donate to support Twin Cities Direct Action Against ICE. Hi, I'm Gabe Vanderwater Davis, and I'm representing Twin Cities Direct Action. Gabriel Vanderwater needs your support for support Twin Cities Direct Action Against ICE. On or about February 20th at approximately 3:45 p.m., Vanderwater Davis posted a screenshot of the TCDA GoFundMe page that listed the name Gabe in the Art Money Comms Club Signal chat group. Vanderwater Davis wrote, my name is on this, so I'm a little nervous, but we'll see how it goes. Kennedy responded, really appreciate the risk you are taking and of possible support as much obfuscation of your identity as you want / is possible. Hopefully we can reach our goal and pull it before anything really connects with you or us. On or about February 20th at approximately 4:24 p.m., Mr. X sent a message in the WIP 31 Signal chat group stating that he would be at Week of Action meeting held that day for the Materials group. Mr. X continued, if anyone has an idea of where some Ward 4 or wider square tubing or 4-inch Wider square tubing, I-beams are hit me up. Scrap, just need scrap. Kim responded, none at Cormark? How long? Maybe could get some tomorrow. Train rail? On or about February 20th at approximately 6:57 p.m., Thorsten sent a message in the WIP 31 Signal chat group asking, is there a formal marshals group set up? Stuart responded, there is not. Thorsten replied, who else wants to marshal? I can make a group and we can start planning, unless there is already a plan from DSA/RP. I'm not sure how large a hand they're having in planning the minutiae of this stuff. On or about February 20th at approximately 7:01 p.m., Kim sent a message in the TCDA Signal chat group asking any tips on how to share the GFM with extended networks. How public do we want to share it? Kennedy responded, spread it. I threw it up on my Facebook and others are doing the same. On or about February 21st at approximately 12:20, Doyle sent a message in the TCDA2 Signal group chat stating, I have shared the fundraiser to From a Comrade, which is an anarchist Facebook page. On or about February 21st at approximately 9:44, an unindicted co-conspirator posted a news article that discussed the decreased use of Whipple building by ICE in the TCDA2 Signal group chat. Mr. Rick responded, I'm under the belief was for show when Ilhan walked through, but that's my uneducated speculation. Kennedy replied, I wouldn't call it uneducated, it's likely. Folks have been tracking closely, and while there are rumors of secondary facilities in Edina, Minnetonka, I haven't seen any confirmation. There's a private airport in Eden Prairie it sounds like they do some deportations out of as well. I think Whipple still very much remains a target, but we should definitely investigate potential other sites. On or about February 21st at approximately 10:50 a.m., an unindicted co-conspirator sent the message in the Art Money Comms Club Signal chat group stating, holy shit, at Noob, Vanderwater Davis, it's already raised over $1,200 in reference to the GoFundMe page. Vanderwater Davis responded, I'm seeing $11.50 on GoFundMe. On or about February 21st at approximately 2:52 p.m., Thorsten sent a message in the WIP 31 Signal group chat stating, DM me to be added to the Marshals Planning chat. On or about February 21st at approximately 2:58, Stewart sent a message in the WIP 31 Signal group chat, which provided an overview of a meeting with other groups involved in the March 1st action at the Whipple building. Stewart messaged, we're going to be somewhat autonomous from the main march. They'll be on Federal coming down from Whiskey Horse and we'll be holding Minnehaha. We designate a couple commons people and we'll coordinate scouts between both sides. We decided 2 scouts on bikes with burners and radios on our side to watch for kettling from the north side of Minnehaha. Kettling means being surrounded by police so that you can't leave, and it forces, it enables them to arrest all that participated. We'll deploy shields and some other stuff on Minnehaha. We'll be more of a soft blockade hybrid. Start time is looking like 10 a.m., and we're going to check in every hour to determine the following hour. Thorsten asked, are you going to marshal again? Stewart responded, not really sure where I'm fitting in yet, lol. On or about February 22nd at approximately 10:19 a.m., Stewart sent a message in the WIP 31 Signal chat group asking anyone down to bike scout for our side. We'd like to. Thorsten responded, we have bike marshals. Maybe they know someone who would like to scout. Thorsten messaged reviewing, we are a week out from this action. I'm coordinating with someone from Week of Action for off-the-grid phones. Max Stewart is coordinating walkies as plan B. Our GoFundMe is at $2,000. Additional material procurement is underway. Is there shield training coming up? At Platonovic Doyle, we weren't sure at the Friday meeting. On or about February 22nd at approximately 12:17, SAMP posted a flyer titled Ice Out, No Collaboration with Occupation, March Against ICE Collaborators in the TCDA Signal chat group. The flyer contained emblems for the Black Cat Workers Collective, Democratic Socialists of America, Workers Solidarity Circle, and Ray Rainbow Memorial Shooting Club. On or about February 22nd at approximately 12:30, Kennedy and others took part in DRS training at Loring Park in Minneapolis. On or about February 22nd at approximately 5:13, Vanderwater Davis sent a message in the WIP 31 Signal chat group stating, just got off the phone with Rod. He's going to check out the jail support loop and ensure that someone is taking point on receiving and checking jail support forums for off-the-grid people on the 1st. Once that is lined up, Rod will share a Rise Up pad with jail support info needs and the email to send it to close to the date of action. On or about February 23rd at approximately 12:10, Stewart sent a message in the WIP 31 Signal chat group stating, please start brainstorming spots to meet. Vanderwater Davis responded, library meeting rooms are not the worst spot for this kind of thing unless people have security concerns. Kim replied, I can also look into the warehouse spot I booked in Seward if needed. We'll be talking with a friend who manages it today. On or about February 23rd at approximately 2:58 p.m., SAMP sent a message in the WIP 31 Signal chat group stating, apparently there is $9,000 unaccounted for in the Week of Action budget. Do we want to ask them to fund any part of our thing on Sunday? M replied, hell yeah. On or about February 23rd at approximately 11:26, Robinette posted an Ice Out March Against ICE collaborators for an event scheduled for February 27th in the TCDA2 Signal chat group. The flyer contained logos for the BCWC, Rainbolt Memorial Shooting Club, and other groups. Robinette messaged looking for help with marshals for this. It's a broader coalitional thing, so it won't be exactly the same as we've been doing for the assemblies. Hoping to get at least 10 volunteers between here, TCDA, and Rainbolt Memorial Shooting Club. On or about February 23rd at approximately 12:18, Thorsten sent a message in the TCDA Signal chat group stating, "I'm looking for marshals for the Whipple action. Please DM if you're interested." On or about February 23rd at approximately 5:48 p.m., Vanderwater Davis sent a message in the WHIP 31 Signal chat group which discussed communications available for March 1st, 2026 action at the Whipple building. Vanderwater Davis messaged, 9 phones are going to be purchased, someone on the Week of Action team who is good with radios and tactical comms, and offered to act as the liaison between our crews to ensure we have a working system. Vanderwater Davis described her discussions with the Week of Action team, stating an offer was made to direct people who had signed up for the Week of Action and might be interested in a more confrontational vibe to us, TCDA, and have one of us meet with them as a rep of TCDA on Wednesday. They also shared a map of what their planned routes are and where they are expecting to have scouts and marshals. Stewart responded, "Thanks, noob, Vanderwater Davis. That sounds fine to me, and if we can get a few folks to meet up with them Wednesday, hell yeah. My understanding was that we were a hard blockade with a soft backup, so as long as those folks are aware and down to hold ground, the more the merrier. I'm guessing materials and marshals have thoughts, though." On or about February 23rd at approximately 11:22, Robinette sent a message in the Securitas Signal chat group stating, "Now that we have everyone in here, we need to start pulling people together for this one on Friday, Ice Out March Against ICE Collaborators event. It's going to be a make it work type situation with some other groups that don't entirely share our ideology, but I'm hoping we can get at least 10 from here. Who is interested in volunteering?" Kennedy replied, "I want to request to add Big Vic to this loop. They are a left jabber and personal friend of many years who is a longtime anti-fascist with an impressive background in security." On or about February 23rd at approximately 1 p.m., an unindicted co-conspirator sent a message in the Securitas Signal chat group asking, "Is there a length of time that someone should be a member in attendance before vouching for someone new? To be clear, not for the security team, but just to show up to a dry dyer." Robinette responded, "Oh, for Rainbolt? No, if you're in the loop, you're good to propose people in that announcements chat. Put their name and where people might know them from, and then week 1 waiting period before coming to a dry fire. The relationship between this group, TCDA, and the Rainbolt, and Left Jab for that matter, needs to be talked about at whatever meeting we have next." On or about February 23rd at approximately 1:13 p.m., Stewart sent a message in the Securitas Signal group chat stating, "Sorry to make it another ask, but we're looking for a couple hard and soft security to help with a march at Whipple on Sunday, 3/1. This is just a precaution in case actual fascist, not soft-handed Jake," reference to right-wing influencer Jake Lang, who they say, hilariously in this, was assaulted by left-wing rioters in downtown Minneapolis on January 17th, 2026. Show up. At this instance, I'm pretty sure that was the one where Jake Lang showed up and had like a Quran with like bacon between the pages and like tried to sort of incite the crowd. It was just an utter failure for him because literally him and only one other guy, it looks like, showed up. And then he was like chased out of town. And then he was saved by getting picked up by a trans woman and her friend who happened to just see 2 guys kind of like walking fast away from a crowd and thought they were going to save them. And then when they found out who he was, they kicked him out of the car. So that's a fun story if you want to look that up. Also, anybody willing to loan 5 to 10 radios for that march, DM me for more details. It will be a March blockade hybrid with anywhere from 200 to 800 people. On or about February 23rd at approximately 9:55, sent a message in the WHIP 31 Signal chat group stating, "I'm asking about the ICE organizers, which welcome center is the most inoffensive one for us to have a shield training at. I don't know if a particular one is better for finding people who might participate on Sunday, but I think we should plan to use them to recruit some people. People will be coming from out of town looking to get involved in stuff like what we're doing." On or about February 24th at approximately 8:56 p.m., Robinette sent a message in the Securitas Signal chat group stating, "All right, 20 radios are in with bodyguard earpieces programmed and a printed copy of the radio book. If you want one, thumbs up this message and come pick one up. Oh, and there's a chance these might get covered by Week of Action funds, so if that's the case, I will use any funds to buy more for Rainbolt and other people who we like but aren't here yet." On or about February 24th at approximately 12:48, Sant added Robinette as a participant in the WHIP 31 signal chat group. On or about February 24th at approximately 2:57, Vandewater Davis sent a message in the WHIP 31 signal chat group stating, "I am inviting Cleo, the off-the-grid comms point person from the Red Pine, for this action to join us at this meeting. They are providing the phones and are self-described as very into and well-versed in radio comms as well." On or about February 24th at approximately 3:18 p.m., Vandewater Davis sent a message in the WHIP 31 signal chat group stating another important need to get squared away is exfil vehicles. So that's exfiltration vehicles. In other words, getaway cars. We need folks with cars that are willing to post up in the north lot and come down Minnehaha towards the light rail station to pick people up if we need to leave in a hurry. I did exfil at Dante Wright protests in 2021 and can chat with you if you're not sure. Sant replied, Layden and Tiny, Appland, and I are calling the whole TCDA chat one by one to get an idea of headcount so we can plan for exfiltration drivers accordingly. On or about February 24th at approximately 4:51 p.m., Vandewater Davis sent a message in the WHIP 31 signal chat group asking, I have one person who so far can scout. Can we get one more person to volunteer? An unindicted co-conspirator responded, the scout is a biking position, correct? I have a potential volunteer, not a member though. On or about February 25th at approximately 2:59 p.m., Doyle removed approximately 5 shields from the backyard of his residence on Snelling Avenue in Minneapolis and placed them in the back of his Dodge Ram under a green tarp. Doyle again walked to his backyard and returned carrying 2 half-barrel shields. Doyle placed the shields under the green tarp in the back of his Dodge Ram. This note is very interesting because it suggests that he was being watched or surveilled in some other way at this time. On or about February 25th at approximately 10:02 a.m., Sant sent a message in the WHIP 31 signal chat group stating, we need numbers. I'm already going to the Week of Action welcome centers and recruiting out-of-towners for it by word of mouth. I think vetted rapid responders are welcome. Having big numbers is going to make this action safer. If we're too cagey about inviting people and we have small numbers, it'll be more dangerous. I hope everyone here invites a friend, especially because we can't put this one on social media. Vandewater Davis responded, They can def come attendance of the action. Anyone who supports what we are doing can attend. There are boundaries around who is planning and coordinating and no strategic details. On or about February 25th at approximately 10:11, Vandewater Davis posted a flyer for autonomous action against ICE in the TCDA2 signal chat group. Vandewater Davis messaged, this is not for social media. We need numbers on our end of the 3-1 action at Whipple. We are coordinating with Melt the Ice. Please share this directly with friends and comrades. Even inviting one person will potentially help us out a lot. Hope to see you there. Kennedy responded, in the future, I think we really need to post these kinds of events where numbers matter on social media. It's more dangerous to avoid it and use word of mouth for large actions. It isolates us, makes us more of a target, and is a lot less effective. On or about February 25th at approximately 11:16, Stewart sent the message in the WHIP 31 signal chat group stating, I forgot to mention last night, but I think we could use 5 to 10 traffic cones, 5-gallon pals with lids, or maybe pails, or big water jugs, and a couple of handheld blowers, like leaf blowers. I think I can get one blower. On or about February 25th at approximately 12:35 p.m., Sant, Vandewater Davis, and others discussed the planned March 1st action at the Whipple building in the TCDA2 signal chat group. Vandewater Davis message, at this time we are primarily looking for people to come, be part of the crowd, with the understanding that this particular crowd will have a more confrontational character than the main march that will be coming out to Whipple that day. The best way to get plugged into a supportive role is to join the project group. People who want to marshal on Sunday, please get in touch with @Shotzi Thorsten. Sant replied, the main roles we're trying to fill right now are A, people to be in the blockade, B, drivers to relay people back and forth from their cars to the Whipple, C, marshals. On or about February 25th at approximately 2:41 p.m., Vandewater Davis sent a message in the WHIP 31 signal chat group stating one of the reasons we want to recruit more exfil drivers is so that we can help people get out if things get blocked. An unindicted co-conspirator asked, how arrestable do we think the exfil role is? Vandewater Davis responded, in my experience, exfil is the lower risk role. The unindicted co-conspirator replied, okay, I've got 2 more for exfil then. On or about February 25th, at approximately 4:16, Vandewater Davis sent a message in the TCDA2 signal chat group stating we have the okay to share this autonomous action on ICE flyer on socials. This shouldn't be directly associated in your post with the Melt the Ice march on Whipple. On or about February 25th at approximately 8:41, Sant sent a message in the WHIP 31 signal chat group stating the 3 biggest updates from the meeting with the Melt the Ice people. Indigenous March is now planning on staying until 2 p.m., not noon. Do we follow suit? They can only give us 3 burner phones. We will have to provide our own for the other 2. I have 1. We'll need 1 more. The march has on-site jail support person. They asked if we could have one too. On or about February 25th at approximately 10:59 p.m., Kim sent a message in the WIP 31 signal chat group stating the walking trail between light rails around the Whipple building is really chill, and you can go pretty up for it. 30 minutes north takes you out a dog park by light rail if you're feeling paranoid. Good spots to change and ditch clothes along the way if needed. On or about February 27th at approximately 2:21 p.m., Doyle drove his Dodge Ram to Sant's residence in St. Paul. Once again, this suggests that he was either being tailed or maybe they got his cell phone location data. At approximately 2:30 p.m., Doyle and Sant departed Sant's residence in the Dodge Ram and drove in and around PV Plaza in Minneapolis. At approximately 3:07 p.m., Doyle, Sant, and others removed signs from Doyle's Dodge Ram. At approximately 6:44 p.m., Doyle and another individual loaded shields into the back of Doyle's Dodge Ram at the rear of his residence. At approximately 7:10, Doyle drove his Dodge Ram to the area at or around Hamlin Park in St. Paul. Doyle parked and several individuals walked towards his truck. Doyle unloaded shields from underneath a green tarp out the back of his Dodge Ram and handed them out to the group. On or about February 27th at approximately 7:15 p.m., Doyle led shield training at Zion Community Commons in St. Paul. Doyle, Sant, Kennedy, and others took part in the training. At shield training, Doyle stated that the shield provides an advantage in situations where you are close to the enemy. Doyle continued fighting with the fascists rather than just going at them chest to chest with no shields. If you have a shield wall, you are going to be more effective and much more safe than they are. Take your strongest, heaviest, fastest, most aggressive people and put them at the point of that wedge. Have your strongest people pushing through. Sant stated, find two scrawny-looking cops and get between, and in that case, somebody just used an umbrella as a wedge and just parted the two cops. This is very interesting because it's using quotes, so it suggests, once again, were they infiltrated? Were they listening on cell phones or other recording devices? How did they get direct quotes from this training and meeting? On or about February 28th at approximately 8:53 a.m., Applin sent a message in the TCDA2 signal group chat stating, if the plastic really is better for repelling projectiles, we should look into getting a bunch of flat plastic that we can cut flat shields out of. Kennedy responded, part of what makes the barrel shells ID a lot better for protecting against projectiles is the curved shape. It deflects impact, whereas flat surfaces just eat the impact. You can feel the vibration a lot more, and flat surfaces splinter easier. Frankly, I think we'll be doing 98% protecting against projectiles, and maybe 2% fending off snitch squads with shields on Sunday. In this recent iteration of struggle, the cops have almost never brought shields of their own and have heavily favored projectiles. On or about February 28th at approximately 9:02, Vanderwater Davis sent a message in the WIP 31 signal group chat stating, hey folks, my buddy for the vehicle dipped on me. I need a backup. Anyone who can act in that role, DM me ASAP. Vanderwater Davis responded, problem solved. Two co-conspirators replied with heart emojis. On or about March 1st at approximately 7:22, Vanderwater Davis sent a message in the Leave and Delete signal group chat stating Sparky, Bazel, and I are en route to Whipple for first scout, 1 sheriff at North Lot, 2 sheriffs parked by train tracks at Lights Rail Station, 4 sheriffs at 6000 Minnehaha, 5 to 6 sheriffs at Gate 3, 2 sheriffs at the freeway exit, 2 sheriffs at Fort Snelling State Park, and Ride South Lot. Stewart and an unindicted co-conspirator sent thumbs up emojis. On March 1st, from on or about 8:45 on to about 8:55 a.m., Thorsten and several other individuals arrived at the Fort Snelling light rail station. At approximately 8:56, Thorsten provided a radio to an individual with a black hat and a gray jacket. At approximately 8:59, Thorsten provided a radio to an individual wearing a blue jacket on a bike. And then this goes through who they got devices and information to. You can pause and read if you would like. At 9:25, approximately 10 individuals with gas masks and umbrellas walked to the North Park and Ride parking lot. At approximately 9:29 a.m., Vanderwater Davis drove a white Dodge Ram wagon, white van, which was registered to Stewart, to the North Park and Ride parking lot. Baysdale was a passenger in the white van. Vanderwater Davis and Baysell distributed shields to co-conspirators. At approximately 9:32, Vanderwater Davis and Baysell, as a passenger, drove the white van and was pulled over by Hennepin County Sheriff's Office deputies near the Whipple building. At approximately 9:33, co-conspirators with shields walked southbound on Minnehaha. At approximately 9:41, Thorsten was with 2 unindicted co-conspirators in the area of North Park and Ride parking lot. Thorsten possessed a bullhorn. And then we're talking about what else they have. They have a radio. Thorsten was detained by Hennepin County deputies. At approximately 9:56, co-conspirators with black shields blocked access to and from Minnehaha Avenue in the vicinity of the Whipple building. At approximately 9:58, Doyle and other co-conspirators holding shields blocked a road near the North Park and Ride parking lot, which prevented vehicle access to and from the Whipple building. At approximately 10 a.m., Doyle and other co-conspirators placed debris in Minnehaha Avenue. at or around the North Park and Ride parking lot, which blocked vehicle access to and from the Whipple building. At or around 10:02 a.m., Vanderwater Davis drove the white van to the area at or around the U-Haul cargo carrier and RV. At approximately 10:04, Doyle and other co-conspirators used shields and placed debris in the roadway at or around the North Park and Ride parking lot, which blocked access to and from the Whipple building. At approximately 10:06, individuals began to form a blockade on Minnehaha Avenue North. Mr. Eck drove his blue Ford F-150 blue truck to Minnehaha Avenue North. Stewart and Kim exited the passenger side of the blue truck. Sant approached the rear of the blue truck. At approximately 10:07, Sant, Doyle, Kim, Stewart, and an unindicted co-conspirator began to remove debris, including multiple check hedgehogs, which are static obstacles made of metal angle beams, from the blue truck. Mr. Eck then drove the blue truck with Stewart and Kim as passengers away from the area of Minnehaha Avenue North. Beginning at approximately 10:08, Sant, an unindicted co-conspirator, and others participated in the hard blockade on Minnehaha Avenue North, which prevented vehicles from going to or from the Whipple building. At approximately 10:15 a.m., Hennepin County deputies performed disbursement notifications to individuals at the blockade at Minnehaha Avenue North. At approximately 10:23 a.m., an unindicted co-conspirator was parked near the blockade on Minnehaha Avenue North. An unidentified individual approached the unindicted co-conspirator and asked if the unindicted co-conspirator could be the evac driver. The unindicted co-conspirator agreed to be an evac driver. The unindicted co-conspirator drove a white Toyota Corolla. At approximately 10:23, an unindicted co-conspirator parked a Honda Fit near the blockade on Minnehaha Avenue North. From approximately 10:50 a.m. to 10:56, Hennepin County Sheriff's deputies gave multiple dispersal orders to individuals blocking traffic at or around the Whipple building. At approximately 11 a.m., individuals threw projectiles at Hennepin County Sheriff's near the Whipple building main gate. And once again, unclear about which individuals. Were they the defendants? Were they non-related individuals? On or about March 2nd, at approximately 12:34 p.m., an unindicted co-conspirator sent a message in the 3-1 Marshall Signal group chat stating, "Hello all, I am still missing 2 radios, one with white tape on the back and one with green tape. Shotzi Thorsten, so glad you made it out. I have 4 of your radios in their packages. Where can I drop these?" On or about March 2nd, at approximately 12:52, Thorsten sent a message in the 3-1 Marshall Signal chat group requesting to set up a debrief pertaining to the March 1st direct action at the Whipple building. On or about March 3rd, at approximately 6:40, Thorsten led a virtual debrief in the 3-1 Marshall Signal chat group. The group noted that law enforcement's response to the March 1st Whipple building action was quick. The group stated that the shield deployment took too long and that dropping shields closer to the hard blockade could yield better results. The group also agreed that rental cars and U-Haul cargo carriers could be used as distractions for future actions. Thorsten encouraged people to join TCDA and get vetted. On or about March 3rd, at approximately 7:25, Bazel sent a message in the Whipple Watch Refresh Signal group chat stating a note about trade contractor vehicles in Minnesota. Minnesota law requires electrical contractor vehicles to display the company name and license number on both sides. These markings must be in a contrasting color with characteristics at least 3 inches high and 0.5 inches wide. This could help in distinguishing legit vehicles from bogus ones. An unindicted co-conspirator responded, "I'm sorry, how did they possibly think that log wasn't just the most obvious?" I think this is referencing where the ICE vehicles, like, they started trying to use like fake vehicles, like to like avoid detection by the observers and the rapid response network. So they'd like pretend to be like repairmen and stuff like that as they were trying to go about their kidnapping. On or about March 4th, at approximately 11:58 a.m., an unindicted co-conspirator sent a message in the Renegade Signal chat group stating info from @MoonBearKim about moving barricades/walls. Heavy-duty cutters, insert link. People use these sometimes to cut exhaust pipes cleanly. It's also very quiet and only needs a fraction of a turn at a time. On or about March 7th, at approximately 5:23, Kennedy posted a link to a GoFundMe page to support a martial arts class hosted by Left Jab in the Damn Signal chat group. From approximately March 11th to approximately May 21st, Recotts sent numerous messages in the Whipple Plates, Whipple Watch Refresh, and other Signal group chats, which included detailed descriptions of government-issued vehicles and their license plates, as well as physical descriptions of suspected immigration and law enforcement officers. So this one is notable that this is literally just normal, like, rapid response network observation. So this is opening up random observers to federal indictment and investigation as well, unfortunately. On or about March 11th at approximately 8:20 a.m., Rekhot sent a message in the Whipple Watch Refresh Signal group chat stating, I have signed up for 3 to 5 as well as shadowing if possible. If not, I have recorded plates before, just not the same way that you guys do it. But either way, I'll be there from 3 to 5. On or about March 15th at approximately 7:42 p.m., Robinette sent a message in the Securitas Signal chat group stating, okay, we've voted that this is going to be a group, and we are going to solicit names from the loop for a week before making a decision. Securitas is the name of a major corporation, and we should not have a joke name that might get us legal threats. Several participants had suggestions for the security group's name. Robinette messaged, I've been trying so fucking hard to turn a group into the provisional something or other. Doyle responded, oh, the anarcho-syndicalists in Weimar, Germany had security forces called the Schwarz, Sharon, or Black Herds or Black Flock. To keep the alliteration, it would be the Black Band, or, well, the Black Bloc. They actually used Black Bloc tactics too, wearing all black clothing and masks when they fought the fascists. Very important note here that the people on the ground are literally like comparing themselves to the Black Bloc who fought the Nazis and other fascists in Weimar, Germany. So it just kind of shows in this federal indictment, if they are correct in thinking that analogy is apt, that the federal government is aligning itself with fascists. So I guess that is up to the courts to decide whether that analogy is apt or not. On or about March 15th at approximately 9:34 p.m., an unindicted co-conspirator sent a message in the Securitas Signal chat group asking, is anyone opposed to me sharing the notes with Ray Rainbold? On or about March 18th at approximately 3:33 p.m., Rekhot sent a message in the Whipple Plate Signal group chat stating, out gate 3, shades and hood up, Florida plates blacked out windows. On or about March 20th at approximately 11:58 a.m., Kennedy sent a message in the damn Signal chat group stating, being able to drag forces away from Whipple with a feint opens up other opportunities along with the idea of driving vehicles through to get them to follow us. We can use their law enforcement predictable aggressiveness to our advantage, goad them into the city away from Whipple, and maybe another attempt at Whipple itself thereafter. On or about March 21st at approximately 9:20 a.m., Rekhot sent a message in the Whipple Plate Signal group chat stating, out gate 3, female driver, passenger hiding face. On or about March 24th at approximately 12:18, Sant sent a message in the Whipple Watch Refresh Signal chat group stating, I'm flying solo at Whipple right now. Does anybody feel like co-piloting? Sant later messaged that Sugar Glider, unindicted co-conspirator, is co-piloting with me. They should be added to this chat so they can post. On or about March 25th at approximately 9:39 a.m., Rekhot described how to obtain good photographs of license plates at Gate 3 of the Whipple building in the Whipple Watch Refresh Signal group chat. Rekhot stated, if they have a front plate, I try to get it at the stop sign, otherwise I zoom in more and just take a bunch of pictures as they drive up if possible, and usually at least one of them is clear enough. On or about March 27th at approximately 1:25 p.m., an unindicted co-conspirator sent a message in the Damn Signal group chat stating, Dube was arrested while commuting. Talking to Tony S. on Signal now, he was not arrested. Appland responded with a thumbs up emoji. On or about March 27th at approximately 1:54 p.m., Sant sent a message in the Damn Signal group message stating, hey, FYI, I have a separate burner phone for commuting. I will never have the Tony Success phone on me for ice watching. Even if I do get arrested, there is no need to remove this account, only my burner account. On or about March 29th at approximately 11:02, Sant sent a message in the Whipple Watch Refresh Signal group message stating, no commuters yet at Whip. I'm doing a ground observer shift today. If you can do some Whipple commuting, please come. An unindicted co-conspirator responded, can't today. I have plans at 12:30, otherwise I would. Another unindicted co-conspirator replied, I will be there soon, but would love to not be the only car. On or about March 29th at approximately 2:14 p.m., Sant sent a message in the Whipple Watch Refresh Signal group chat stating Hennepin sheriffs are posted upon the median strip of the 62E on-ramp. Many departing ICE agents are stopping to talk to them. More observers down at Whipple would be much appreciated right now. On or about March 31st at approximately 11:37, Robinette posted a flyer titled Ray Rainbow Memorial Shooting Club 10th Anniversary Party in the Securitas Signal chat group. The flyer noted that there would be live music by Emmett Doyle. Robinette noted, please do not share this to other loops or on social media. On or about March 31st at approximately 6:38 p.m., Rockhot sent a message in the WW Chatter Signal chat group asking, "Hey y'all, please DM me about what you have noticed as far as HCSO, Hennepin County Sheriff's Office behavior regarding ICE." So they think they're showing up during commuting because they are on to our hours or are being called once we start following. What have you seen that makes you think they are working together? Thanks. Gathering data. On or about April 2nd, Robinette and other unindicted co-conspirators took part in the anarchist speaking tour in Chicago, Illinois. Robinette explained, "We made this group called Workers' Solidarity Circle Coalition between local DSA, Democratic Socialists of America branch, Black Hat Workers Collective, which is the descendant of people familiar with the Ray Rainbow Shooting Club, and the Red Pine Revolutionary Collective. So we've been working towards building these workers' assemblies to get inter-union conversation going, but when all this stuff went down, we threw together this emergency kind of mass meeting about the incident at hand here. And not only do we put it out to all the union people, we put it out to all the rapid response chats in the cities." Robinette discussed expanding the rapid response structure beyond anti-immigrant enforcement activities, stating there's a lot more potential in these structures than they're even being used for. As things are kind of slowing in some ways in Minneapolis, they're setting their sights elsewhere. You know, in these neighborhood group chats, people ask questions like, what is mutual aid? Is that just kind of like charity? Not really, but you know, here's what we're trying to do. You know, people have questions about anti-fascism. You know, we can organize against regular law enforcement, like during the George Floyd situations in 2020. There were neighborhoods that had, you know, groups like this that tried out some of this stuff into big success. Robinette continued, "A lot of people like to think about this as just community defense kind of thing, which I think is true in some ways, but you know, a community defense also means attack, right? Some people are purely here for creating safe. There's also like an inherent militancy into this project, and it's all part of like a chain of insurgency." Robinette stated, "All three of us are anarchists," referring to himself and the other two speakers. On or about April 8th, Robinette, Morgan, and other DAM co-conspirators took part in the anarchist speaking tour in Ann Arbor, Michigan. During the event, they discussed commuting tactics directed towards immigration enforcement officers. Morgan stated, "Another part of our rapid response infrastructure that's rather critical is relays. Just for context, like ICE is entirely car-based operation. They're driving from one place to another, and they're driving fast, so they rarely stay in one place for very long, and it's important that when they leave one area and enter another, the area they're entering is alerting, so that places rapid responders and patrollers can address the situation. This is known through relays in each hyperlocal chat." Robinette discussed rapid response, stating it as an inherently militant project. "This is something with the explicit aim of combating and stopping a federal agent with a gun." During the event, Robinette told the crowd, "So this is an anarchist speaking tour. We're all anarchists. This is something that we believe in principle. But you know, the whole movement in the Twin Cities, they didn't believe these things first. They did them. Because they worked, right? We found that time and time again, the centralized model is a model of telling other people what to do. And what does work is we stand out together where we see each other as only human beings, and we adopt this horizontal power structure, right? We all contribute in the way that we can. When we don't stop the people who are trying something different or something new, even if we don't agree with it, you know, this may be an opportunity for discussion, but we're not going to try and tear each other down, because that's not helpful, right? This is the kind of everyday anarchism that made this resistance function right." On or about April 17th at approximately 10:18, an unindicted co-conspirator sent a message in the Whipple Watch Refresh Signal group chat stating, "Can vouch for Juliet K. Robinette. They will be my co-pilot today." On or about April 17th at approximately 11:19 a.m., Robinette sent a message in the Whipple Watch Signal group chat stating, "Cora, unindicted co-conspirator, and I are on LRJ 105 West on 62. Robinette then sent out a license plate, which he noted was a decoy for the white Charger. Robinette later messaged van convoy headed up Post Road. Van convoy headed to checkpoint gate 222. Robinette continued that convoy was 3 large vans full of detainees from Whipple to gate 222, and he sent out 4 vehicle and 3 license plate descriptions. At 2:34 p.m., Robinette messaged that Cora, co-conspirator, and I followed that license plate number for a government-issued vehicle, black Dodge Charger up Hiawatha. Then he turned his lights on and floored it after Franklin, nearly caused an accident heading towards 7th Street exit, and last-minute cut to 35W. Lost him around 35W Bridge. We're calling it for today. Stay safe and chill. Fuck ICE." On or about April 18th, Sant, Kennedy, and Morgan took part in the anarchist speaking tour in Seattle, Washington. During the event, Sant said, "We're here from Minneapolis. We're on tour to talk about our experiences resisting the ICE occupation." Kennedy discussed the history of violent resistance in Minneapolis. Kennedy described the looting and burning of the Minneapolis Police Department's 3rd Precinct as the happiest moment of my life. Kennedy explained a lot of mutual aid networks that were later characterized this resistance to ICE came from the George Floyd uprising. During the event, Sant described taking part in the January 14th theft of materials from law enforcement vehicles near Lyndale Avenue North and 23rd Avenue North. Sant explained he saw 3 black vehicles being looted and observed individuals break into the vehicle. Sant stated that individuals pry open a gun safe in the back of one of the vehicles. Sant explained some kids rip open the glove box and start live streaming on Instagram the sensitive documents that were inside, and we got the full names of 10 ICE agents and some operational details from Whipple from that. I remember getting out my phone and being like, yeah, these look like ICE, and checking their license plates against a database that we maintain, and feeling really stupid for doing clerical work in the middle of a riot. He continued, right after this happened, MPD tear gassed us. We were expecting them to come come through the gas cloud and arrest people, but that didn't happen. So I and one of my friends went and scouted the perimeter, and we saw that they were actually gone and they had ceded the streets to the people. At the event, Kennedy discussed the January 23rd direct action at the Whipple building. He discussed utilizing a soft blockade with shields at one entrance. Kennedy said there were 2 other deployment teams. Those deployment teams had trailers that they had bought off of Facebook Marketplace for really cheap, and they essentially tried to blockade the other entrances simultaneously with this blockade, pointed to a soft blockade on the projector. One of those trailers was deployed and flipped and successfully shut access. The other was about 30 seconds away from successful deployment before the team was actually pepper sprayed. They managed to avoid arrest, and they managed to drive away, albeit losing the trailer in the process. During the event, Sant discussed the logistics of commuters who follow, harass, and confront federal immigration enforcement vehicles. Sant described commuters were on a phone call in real time with a dispatcher who was somewhere with a dispatcher who was somewhere in the privacy of her own room, reporting on that convoy's movements. That dispatcher was in a relay chat that allowed for communication between the Elliott Park and the adjacent Loring Park neighborhood. Sant further explained, "We don't recommend that anybody ever commute or control by yourself because it's an inherently dangerous thing. So you always want to do that with a buddy who's your co-pilot. So you're driving and looking for ICE, your co-pilot's on the phone talking dispatch, and however many other commuters are on a signal call, you might ask that dispatcher for plate checks like they're doing at a database of license plates, and you're not. And you might be so a lot of your day, and you're I wonder if that's ICE, and you see a suspicious looking white Jeep Wagoneer, your co-pilot reports a dispatch, and then you follow that car until you can't anymore." Sant then described Whipple Watch as a counter-surveillance project, stating, "This is a very boring and unglamorous and unsexy side of our work, but basically what I and my comrades do is we go down to Whipple building and hang out there all day and photograph every ICE vehicle that's coming in and out of the vehicle." Sant continued that now in April, and we have it down to a science, and it's more or less instantaneous. We maintain a searchable database in conjunction with data collection group called Defrost that's publicly searchable on a website. Defrost is the list of every vehicle that we've ever seen ICE in make and model plates, and where and how many times it's been spotted. So what we've started to experiment with is we maintain a second database that's only current plates. We erase it at the end of every night and we refresh it the next morning, and Hot Dishes is just a database of all the active plates that left Whipple that day. So commuters can know what we have confirmed on the road at the moment. What we do is, we have a twofold motive of getting their plates and blasting those out to all the neighborhoods, and also just wasting their time and resources. During the event, Kennedy described different ways to blockade the Whipple building, including intentional shut them down blockades. Kennedy pointed to the projector screen and said, "The one you see over here is another shield wall on March 1st. He continued, "This demonstration had 4 components to it. There was a above-ground march that was led by Indigenous sun dancers that would take up gate 1 of the Whipple building, and the others were designed to essentially shut down the other 2 points of egress. There was 3 deployment teams. The first deployment team brought in shields. The second deployment team was sent in, and they had something to be tank busters." Kennedy described these items as similar to images of D-Day. They're the metal X structures that you see, and actually when the vehicles hits them, it digs back into the road and will stop the vehicle. Kennedy explained, "I was on deploy 2 or deploy 3, and I had a 10-foot U-Haul truck and a 30-foot trailer that I was going to use to block one of the entrances." Kennedy stated that he learned that the other 2 deployment teams were arrested and that ICE was tailing him. Kennedy described taking law enforcement on a tour of the Twin Cities and that it was one of the dumbest police chases I've been in my life, suggesting maybe multiple. During the event, Morgan explained there is an inherent militancy to this project and stated this is something that comes with the explicit aim of stopping and combating an armed federal agent trying to violently abduct your neighbor. Kennedy stated he is a revolutionary anarchist. He continued the anarchist movement will achieve the ability to have fluid communication between independent groups without state any centralized leadership. I believe that's exactly what we're seeing in Minneapolis. During the event, Sant stated, I think that Twin Cities' real contribution to the field of revolutionary organization of insurrectionary organization is these rapid response networks. Sant later stated, I am in an anarchist revolutionary organization. It's called Black Hat. During the event, Morgan stated, now we've talked about patrolling rapid response and Whipple Watch. We want to give you a glimpse into the rest of the breadth of tactics we've used in our insurgency against the occupation of our state. On or about April 20th, at approximately 12:49 p.m., Rackhot sent a message in the Whipple Watch refresh signal group chat stating, I am here to commute but waiting on a co-pilot. On or about April 21st, at approximately 10:28 a.m., Rackhot sent a message in the Whipple Watch refresh signal group chat stating, will be at Whipple building to commute around 12. On or about April 24th, Kennedy posted to Facebook about taking part in an interview with Seattle NPR, who were covering the Breaking the Ice tour. Kennedy discussed the anti-ICE operations in Minneapolis, writing, we make a very strong and compelling case that militant confrontations with ICE are what made our movement explode in numbers, drastically reduce deportation numbers, and ultimately get the feds to retreat from Operation Metro Surge. We even used graphs depicting the change in deportation rates before and after militant confrontations, in addition to the vast network of mutual aid and decentralized community rapid response networks. Kennedy criticized a nonviolent approach to opposing immigration enforcement, referring to pacifism as an anti-intellectual blight. On or about April 28th, at approximately 1:24 p.m., Sant sent a message in the DM Signal chat group stating there's an effort tomorrow morning to commute around ICE's hotels by Mall of America, 7 to 10 a.m. Anybody interested in joining me to co-pilot? An unindicted co-conspirator responded, I haven't co-piloted since December, January, but I could see if you need somebody. Another unindicted co-conspirator messaged, my commuting buddy and I can join this effort. Is there somewhere I can be added for more information? On or about May 1st at approximately 5:17 p.m., an unindicted co-conspirator sent a message in the Renegade Signal group chat stating, I wish there was an in-person career fair where you could go from booth to booth and listen to all the anarchist, rebellion, and protest plans being made and sign up to the ones you thought were interesting. Now it's like an Amway pyramid selling scheme. I understand that the security of a 1-hour self-destruct message chat. How does that allow us to plan, train, and recruit for anything spicy? PM, since I don't understand it. Rackhots responded, I would love to find out more about direct action, civil disobedience stuff when the goal is to be arrested for the optics. On or about May 4th, a federal immigration officer left the Whipple building in his government-issued vehicle. Sant drove a Hyundai Sonata and followed the federal immigration officer from Whipple building to Hudson, Wisconsin. St. Croix County deputies stopped the Hyundai Sonata in Hudson, Wisconsin, and identified Sant as the driver. On or about May 4th, at approximately 2:08 p.m., Sant sent a message in the Whipple Watch refresh signal group chat stating 494 East approaching Concord Street South, just getting to Woodbury, northbound on 494. Do we have any rapid response calls in Hudson? Looking to hand off if possible. We're in Wisconsin. We're going to keep following. We won't get back to Whipple for another one. Carmichael Road, northbound. At 2:29 p.m., Sant messaged cop pulling us over, stopped by police in Hudson, Wisconsin. They let us go with a warning, threatened us with criminal charges. On or about May 7th at approximately 5:59 p.m., an unindicted co-conspirator shared a link to the White House counterterrorism strategy in the DAM Signal group message, which discussed several national security threats, including from anarchists and anti-fascists. The unindicted co-conspirator messaged, the White House just declared us terrorists. Appland responded, terrorism is direct action. Kim noted that my new bio, an anti-American, radically pro-transgender, and anarchist. Kennedy messaged, unless we can organize large numbers and direct them to swarm Whipple, losing the gates provides almost as much challenge as having them there. It did make blocking the entrances easier with smaller numbers. It will be a lot easier for a large group to overwhelm them now and challenge the actual building, but without the numbers. It seems difficult to use it to our advantage, at least in the short term. On or about May 7th at approximately 12:39 p.m., participants in the DAM Signal group message discussed the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office removing the barriers and fencing around the Whipple building. Sant messaged, never interrupt your enemy while they are making a mistake. This is an opportunity we can't afford to ignore, in my opinion. On or about May 9th at approximately 10:27 a.m., Morgan sent a message in the Whipple Watch refresh signal group message stating, is anyone available to co-pilot today? Ball Plart, an unindicted co-conspirator, is unavailable. On or about May 11th at approximately 11:15, Morgan sent a message in the Whipple Watch 3.0 signal group chat stating Ball Plart, an unindicted co-conspirator, has been co-piloting with me the last several times I was commuting at Whipple and would like to be added to this chat. What is the process to get him added? On or about May 12th, Sant, Appland, Basil, and other co-conspirators attended a DAM meeting in St. Paul. At the meeting, participants distributed a document titled Direct Action Minnesota, Missions and Values. The document listed the mission statement, which read, Direct Action Minnesota is a decentralized, anti-capitalist, and anti-authoritarian organization of working-class people committed to defending our community against the violence committed by the state and the far right. We employ an intersectional approach of resisting oppression in all its forms and seek to foster a greater capacity within our group and within the working class more generally to meet this end. We also look to the future. We realize that tearing down oppressive systems is only the beginning, and we work towards building upon existing interdependent community to rectify the many failings of the current system. The document also explained DAM's vetting process, stating candidates that come to us on their own accord are assigned a point person from the vetting team and given a list of questions, instructions to reply, including orgs you've been involved in the past 5 years, how you found DAM, why you want to be part of this group, and how you define direct action. Describe a direct action you participated in or you have direct knowledge of without naming names or admitting to illegal acts. Members of vetting team will volunteer, but their service on the vetting team must be approved by DAM. Members must have been active in DAM for a minimum of 3 months, therefore they can volunteer, or before they can volunteer. Candidates that are being recommended by a current DAM member will be asked for a character review from this member, including how they know the candidate, how long, any traits that will be helpful to DAM, any concerns. They will also be asked about past participation in direct action that they have witnessed from the candidate without any illegal acts identified to anyone as above. An initial vote on each prospective member shall be conducted over a period not to exceed 7 days. All new members have the option to be assigned a supportive comrade. At the meeting, Sant discussed a group called Rebel Loon Alliance that does both Cop Watch and Ice Watch. Sant stated there were changes in the rapid response landscape that happened starting yesterday. Sant, Appland, and other co-conspirators discussed holding SHIELD training on May 30th. Appland asked how many shields were left, and Sant replied, it's more than 100, less than 200, we should count. At the meeting, Sant said, I really feel like we need to engineer some sort of clash with ICE. I think that the fact that happened on a daily basis in January is why the movement swelled to the numbers it did. The propaganda value of that happening and that being filmed and publicized is very important. At the meeting, Appland described a weakness of the direct actions thus far is that we are challenging them on their turf where they have all that Whipple, right, where they have all their concentrated force. The part of the impetus of the experimentation was the sort of impromptu, improvised fashion, luring them to our turf and then overwhelming them. Appland continued, I was just going to say we could arrange a sort of decoy maneuver with the federal courthouse in order to lure them. They have encountered us before, we've encountered them before, they know what to look for, and so we could easily bake them. On May 12th, a federal immigration officer left Whipple building in his government-issued vehicle. Morgan drove a Honda Civic and followed the federal immigration officer from the Whipple building to the area around the officer's residence in Hudson, Wisconsin. Hudson police officers stopped the Honda Civic in Hudson, Wisconsin, and identified Morgan as the driver and an unindicted co-conspirator as the passenger. On or about May 15th, at approximately 8:48 a.m., an unindicted co-conspirator sent a message describing a Homeland Security Investigation agent's government-issued vehicle, Government Vehicle 1, as well as his license plate number in the Whipple 3.0 signal group chat. The unindicted co-conspirator described Government Vehicle 1 as having a reflective hat and vest on dash. At approximately 11:24, an unindicted co-conspirator referred to a different government-issued vehicle in the area, Government Vehicle 2, and stated this vehicle was confirmed at WIP and hasn't been added to the database, currently near the 28th and Bloom Station. On or about May 15th, at approximately 11:25, Sant sent a message in the DAM signal group chat stating, Alert, alert, there's an ICE raid in progress right now at 28th at Bloomington, Ford F-150. Sant provided the license plate number for government issue Vehicle 1 and continued 3 agents out of vehicle. I am not on scene. Get over there if you can. Appland responded, on my way. On or about May 15th at approximately 10:20 to 11:26, HSI agents were performing their duties and conducting interviews. During this time, HSI agents noticed sandbags placed under the driver's side front tire and passenger's side rear tire of a government-issued vehicle. Government Vehicle 2 was also on scene. Morgan then approached one of the agents and knocked the agent's notes out of his hand. Morgan also kicked Government Vehicle 2 twice, causing dents. Sant was also present. On or about May 15th at approximately 1:17, Sant sends a message in the Dam Signal group chat stating ice situation in South Minneapolis is resolved for now. One vehicle left, the other one got a flat tire somehow and pulled into the police station lot on Nicollet. An unindicted co-conspirator responded somehow, like somehow, and included a smiley face and a devil emoji. Applin replied, couldn't drive within the law, couldn't change a flat without the law. On or about May 18th, a federal immigration officer left the Whipple building in his government-issued vehicle. Records drove a Honda Civic and followed the federal immigration officer from the Whipple building to the area of Minnesota State Highway 55 and Minnesota State Highway 5. Records brake-checked the officer and sideswiped the officer's vehicle, causing a collision. On or about May 18th at approximately 2:14 p.m., an unindicted co-conspirator sent a message in the Dam Signal group chat stating remove Anaran, Rockhots. Another unindicted co-conspirator tagged Vanderwater Davis and another unindicted co-conspirators. An unindicted co-conspirator who was the chat administrator messaged on it and removed Rockhots from the Dam Signal group chat at approximately 2:17 p.m. On or about May 18th at approximately 4:43 p.m., Rockhots sent a message in the Whipple Watch 3.0 Signal group chat stating, I was never in custody, to be clear, but good job, y'all. I am being so quick to boot me just in case. Oh hell yeah, group safety is way more important than my admission to a group. Like I said, I was hella impressed. On or about May 18th at approximately 7:12, an unindicted co-conspirator added Rockhots back to the Dam Signal group chat. Rockhots responded, thanks for the re-add. On or about May 19th at approximately 8:34 a.m., an unindicted co-conspirator sent a message in the Dam Signal group chat asking when ICE activity is the highest at the Whipple building. Rockhots responded, it seems to vary. Late afternoon you see the most exits in a shorter period of time as it's end of business. Midday is when there is a dispatched commuting, so a fair level of in and outs, definitely not weekend. On or about May 21st at approximately 2:23 p.m., Sant sent a message in the Dam Signal group chat stating need observers, staging. Sant then sent a description and license plate number for a government-issued vehicle and continued, parked in front of Cayuga Park, attempted abduction here earlier today. Still in cars, but at least 4 occupants. If able to respond, please join RLA. Sant again described government-issued vehicles as well as license plate numbers. Sant explained, confirmed by ICE by East Metro Garage. They're still there, mostly in their cars. I'm circling. Sant later texted, great work everybody. Everyone damn showed up strong and moved the need on this Cayuga Park situation. I'm proud of this. On or about May 26th, defendants and others attended a dam meeting in St. Paul. Vanderwater Davis discussed a planned direct action at federal ammunition. On July 11th, the group discussed upcoming SHIELD training and a SHIELD building day. On or about May 31st, Sant and several unindicted co-conspirators discussed supplying and assisting a direct action at the Delaney Hall immigration facility in New York in the Dam Signal group chat. An unindicted co-conspirator message, through sheer coincidence, I did an InfoSec training for New Jersey Anarchist Mutual Aid and Community Self-Defense Group on Monday. I've reached out to them to ask whether there's any support folks from MN can provide. Sant responded urgent, call for supplies, Minnesota to New Jersey. Vehicles are headed to the Delaney Detention Center protest between now and Tuesday. Priority needs gas masks, especially Mira, goggles. Sant posted Delaney Hall last night and shared a YouTube link, breaking cops clash with ICE protests at Delaney Hall. Sant provided a drop-off location for supplies. On or about June 6th at approximately 8:52 a.m., participants in the Dam Signal group chat discussed the direct action occurring at the Delaney Hall ICE facility and the Dam Signal group chat. Kennedy stated that it was intense and those cars leaving the Delaney Hall facility need to be stopped by any means necessary. Blockades, tire spikes, bashing windows, and disabling anything. When cars are used as a weapon, all bets are off. On or about June 6th at approximately 11 a.m., Kennedy sent a message in the Left Jab Signal group chat stating, hey y'all, I think I'm going to cancel swarm training for Thursday the 18th in an effort to make sure enough folks come to the one on Sunday the 21st. I'm thinking of holding in the Powderhorn Park Sunday, June 21st, 12:30 to 2:30. We should print off more flyers and hand out there. All in violation of Title 18, United States Code, Section 372. We made it. Count 2, solicitation to commit a crime of violence, violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 373. On or about January 24th in the District of Minnesota and elsewhere, the defendant Kyle Wagner, with the intent that another person would engage in conduct constituting a felony that has an element, the attempted use or threatened use of physical force against property or against the person of another in violation of the laws of the United States, and an and under circumstances strongly corroborative of that intent, solicited, commanded, induced, or otherwise endeavored to persuade another to engage in such conduct, that is assault with a dangerous or deadly weapon against an officer or employee of the United States in violation of Title 18 United States Code Section 111B, in violation of Title 18 United States Code Section 373. Count 3, interstate threats, violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 115A1B. On or about January 24th, in the District of Minnesota and elsewhere, the defendant Kyle Wagner did attempt to assault, kidnap, and murder a federal law enforcement officer with the intent to impede, intimidate, and interfere with the officer while he or she was engaged in the performance of his or her official duties, or with intent to retaliate against such officer on account of the performance of official duties in violation of Title 18, United States Code, Section 115A1B. Count 4, interstate stalking, violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 2261A1B. On or about May 4th, in the District of Minnesota and elsewhere, the defendant Isaac Amundson traveled in an interstate or foreign commerce with the intent to kill, injure, harass, intimidate, or place under surveillance another person, and in the course of, as a result of such travel or presence, engaged in conduct that caused, attempt to cause, or would be reasonably expected to cause substantial emotional distress to a person in violation of Title 18 United States Code Section 2261A1B. Count 5, interstate stalking, violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 2261A1B. On or about May 12th, in the District of Minnesota and everywhere, the defendant William Morgan traveled in interstate or foreign commerce with the intent to kill, injure, harass, intimidate, or place under surveillance another person, and in the course of, as a result of such travel or presence, engaged in conduct that caused, attempted to cause, or would be reasonably expected to cause substantial emotional distress to a person in violation of Title 18 United States Code Section 2261A1B. Count 6, assault on a federal officer, violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 111A1. On or about May 15th, in the District of Minnesota and elsewhere, the defendant William Morgan forcibly assaulted, resisted, opposed, impeded, intimidated, and interfered with an officer or employee of the United States or an agency in the branch of the United States government designated in 18 U.S.C. Section 1114, who was engaged in the performance of official duties in violation of Title 18 United States Code Section 111A1. Count 7, destruction of government property, violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 1361. On or about May 15th, 2026, in the District of Minnesota and elsewhere, the defendant William Morgan willfully and by means of kicking a government-issued vehicle injured and committed a depredation against property of the United States and any department or agency thereof, specifically government-issued vehicle, and the resulting damage exceeded $1,000 in violation of Oh my God, he kicked a vehicle resulting in damage exceeded $1,000 in violation of Title 18 U.S. Code Section 1361. That's like one of those memes where it's like, I'm more impressed than disappointed. You know, how did you do that? Count 8, assault on a federal officer, violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 111A1. On or about May 18th, in the District of Minnesota and elsewhere, the defendant Natasha Rakotz forcibly assaulted, resisted, opposed, impeded, intimidated, and interfered with an officer or an employee of the United States or an agency in a branch of the United States government designated in 18 U.S.C. Section 1114, who was engaged in the performance of official duties and caused physical contact and inflicted bodily injury and used a dangerous weapon, specifically a vehicle, in violation of Title 18 U.S.C. Section 111A1 and B. All right, we made it. Thanks so much for listening. If you got something out of this, please like and subscribe and keep an eye on this one. I think it's going to be a really interesting case, especially as it relates to Delaney Hall in Newark, New Jersey. So thanks so much for watching.